Hello, everyone. How's it going today? I'm starting this live stream to respond to Mr. Netanyahu's speech to the Congress, the U.S. Congress today. Um, I I have a problem with the crown here in Canada. My name is Ahmed Hassan. I am an Egyptian citizen and a permanent resident of Canada. Um, I have some problems with the crown, but I believe it's important to respond to Mr. Netanyahu's speech to the Congress today. Um, I'm not allowed to speak out uh, because, like I said, of a problem that I had with the crown. But for the time being, and in light of everything that has been going on, I believe uh, it's necessary actually to respond to Mr. Netanyahu's speech today because there are a lot of fallacies and because um, the statements that he made today need to be refuted and to responded to, especially in light of the very dangerous statement that he made today to the U.S. Congress. Mr. Netanyahu spoke for about an hour, and it's a long-winded speech, so I will respond to the major points that he raised today in his speech. I will put the speech on play, and then I will respond to every segment of it. Um, so I will start. I will put it on fast forward a bit because, like, I'm trying to minimize the duration of my video. I don't want my video to be long-winded, but I believe there are things that need to be responded to in Mr. Netanyahu's speech, and they cannot be left unanswered, and hence I am making this video. So let's start. The first part, like he's being cheered and welcomed by the members of the U.S. Congress, and a lot of clapping, and he's definitely happy to be at the U.S. Congress and to be given uh, the microphone and the chance actually to speak to the people of the United States of America in light of all what has been going on. So let's take a listen. The Speaker of the U.S. Congress is welcoming him and giving him the word.
Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, Senator Ben Cardin, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senators, Members of Congress, distinguished guests. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the profound honor of addressing this great citadel of democracy for the fourth time.
So Mr. Netanyahu starts actually with being thankful for being given the chance to address what he called a democracy of the United States of America, which is democracy. We, as per the like political science definition, is the rule of the majority. So he's actually saying that uh, the United States is actually ruled by the majority because there is an election system and stuff like that. And he is assuming it's not a dictatorship, so or an authoritarian regime. So and I'm not going to comment on this. So let's continue with Mr. Netanyahu.
We need today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in a upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not.
So here, Mr. Netanyahu first starts with Iran and what he indicated to be the axis of evil um, of Iran, and he is probably speaking about Iran and the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas and all pretty much all the armed resistance movement against his state. Um, and he is indicating that he has Arab friends and the U.S. in his campaign, so he's dividing. Uh, I mean, right off the bat, he's starting by indicating that there are two campaigns: the U.S., Israel, and what he called his Arab friends on one side, and on the other side, what he says to be Iran's axis of evil. And it's very important to follow this thread because it's a theme that actually unfolds over the speech of Mr. Netanyahu. And there are things that we need to pay very close attention to in what Mr. Netanyahu indicated today in his speech. So let's take a listen.
A clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
So, and then he says that there is a clash. It's not even a clash between civilizations, but rather a clash between barbarism and civilization. So now he is actually dividing the two campaigns. There is a campaign that stands for barbarism and advocates it, and there is another campaign that stands for civilization and advocates it. And like Mr. Netanyahu said in the beginning, he indicated that the U.S. is a democracy, and he's grateful for being given the chance to address uh, what he perceives as a democracy.
It's a clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life.
So now he's saying that it's a clash between those who sacrifice death, or those who pursue death with other people, and other who sanctify life. Uh, so he is basically saying that the barbarists are actually pursuing death of other people, and the civil people or the civilized people actually dignify life. And of course, like it's clear that he is like from the flow of what's being said, he is accusing Iran and the movements of armed resistance against Israel, um, uh, Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis and whoever actually stands with them or probably doesn't recognize them as terrorist organizations, of being the axis of evil, of being barbaric, and of like looking to kill people or seeking the death of other people and stuff like that, while he and his campaign, which is him, Israel, and the United States, and um, whom he called as Arab friends, are actually the civilized people, and that's where the clash comes in. But he didn't indicate explicitly who his Arab friends are, but he indicated that he has some Arab friends. Uh, let's let's keep listening.
forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together.
He then reiterates that, and now he's making it clear that the civilization for the civilization to triumph, that uh, America and Israel should stand together. And I, I'm unsure. Like, I have very, uh, like, I have, I have problems with this narrative because apparently Mr. Netanyahu, when he speaks of civilization and of the United States of America, of being a civilized society, apparently Mr. Netanyahu actually, uh, probably deliberately or ignorantly, uh, ignores the fact that the United States of America uh, is a nation that was built and founded on genocide and ethnic cleansing. So I'm not sure what civilization Mr. Um, Netanyahu is referring to here, especially in light of the fact that, I mean, the long history of slavery in the United States of America and the racial segregation, which is actually um, still ongoing until today. Um I mean, subtly, not explicitly, because it has been banned and criminalized. Uh, but in all honesty, I'm not sure what civilization Mr. Uh, Netanyahu is referring to here when he mentions that the United States of America is a civilized nation. What the fuck is he talking about? Um, so let's keep listening to Mr. Netanyahu. It will be very entertaining. I mean, that's how he started his speech, and he has more things to say for sure. Cheering, clapping, all the House members are happy.
Because when we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose.
And so he is reiterating the importance of the U.S. support to the state of Israel, because in his view, uh, he after he classified, after he divided in the beginning and made distinction between two campaigns, um, and assigned, um, or judged that one of the campaigns is a campaign that stands for barbarism and the other stands for civilization. And he indicated that the U.S. and Israel should stand together so that they can win and defeat barbarism. After he indicated that the United States is actually, uh, or the United, both the United States and civilization, are both founded on ethnic cleansing and on genocide, stand actually for civilization. So, and this actually, in um, the view of Mr. Netanyahu and his very prejudiced view, actually, in accordance with his very prejudiced view. So let's keep going. Clapping,
My friends,
cheering.
I came to assure you today of one thing. We will win.
Everybody's happy. Everybody's clapping and cheering because they think they will win. They will defeat
Ladies and gentlemen,
barbarism.
like December 7th, 1941, and September 11th, 2001, October 7th is a day that will forever live in infamy.
So now he is referring to incidents. Uh, so just let me go back here a bit.
Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization. It's a clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life. For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together. Because, because when we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose. And my friends, I came to assure you today of one thing. We will win. Ladies and gentlemen, like December 7th, 1941, and September 11th, 2001.
December 7th, 1941. I believe he's here. He's referring to Pearl Harbor, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't review that, but I mean the data and in light of the context that Mr. Netanyahu is speaking in, I believe he's referring to Pearl Harbor.
October 7th is a day that will.
And then I believe he also mentioned 9/11. So he's recalling the sad days of the American people in which the Americans were attacked heavily. Um, and he's actually connecting that to the attack on uh, the state of Israel on October 7th. Um, let's keep listening.
Forever live in infamy. It was the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah. It began as a perfect day, not a cloud in the sky. Thousands of young Israelis were celebrating at an outdoor music festival. And suddenly, at 6:29 a.m., these children were still sleeping soundly in their beds in the towns of Kibbutzim next to Gaza. Suddenly, heaven turned into hell. 3,000 Hamas terrorists stormed into Israel. They butchered 1,200 people from 41 countries, including 39 Americans. Proportionately, compared to our population size, that's like 29 11s in one day. And these monsters.
So he's narrating what happened on October 7th, 2023, and then again he's recalling the 9/11 incident and reiterating, which is actually part of the propaganda that Israel has been adopting, or the narrative that Israel has been repeating, or Netanyahu and his gang have been repeating in the media, that October 7th, 2023 to Israel is 9/11 to um, uh, 9/11 to the US. And I mean, he has recalled that and indicated that so many times. And he's yet like repeating it one more time in the US Congress. And again, we see like we everybody knows who committed these attacks on the U.S., and everybody also knows who committed these attacks on uh, the state of Israel in on October 7th. And both he is trying to say that they both are terrorist groups and everything. But at the same time, he is ignoring the context in which Al Qaeda and Bin Laden and this sentiment, the anti-American sentiment, started to build up, and why it came to uh, rise to that level, despite the facts on the ground, which or the historical facts which indicate that those mujahideen and the nucleus of Al Qaeda actually was, or the seeds of the Al Qaeda were planted by the United States and the Saudis back in the 80s, and how they were loyal to the United States in the beginning before they turned on them after practically dismantling the Soviet Union, or uh, playing the biggest part in defeating the Soviet Union after like everybody those who read the history and who are aware of what happened in Afghanistan in the 80s of the past century will understand very well what I mean. Uh, so Mr. Netanyahu here doesn't speak about the occupation, the fact that Israel is a state that was founded on ethnic cleansing and on genocide, just like America, like a father, like a son. Um, he doesn't indicate that, but he goes straight to the attacks of 9/11 and um, the October 7th. Let's keep listening.
They raped women. They beheaded men. They burned babies alive. They killed parents in front of their children.
Okay, so now he's speaking about the people who invaded Israel from Gaza on October 7th, and he alleged that they burned people and beheaded, and these allegations are. I mean, Mr. Netanyahu can say whatever he wants. The credibility of Mr. Netanyahu, I mean, for these allegations to be believed, then Mr. Netanyahu's credibility needs to be tested. That's how things work. Like to make a judgment, to make a proper judgment. I'm not saying what Mr. Netanyahu is saying is true or false, but these facts need to be tested. We heard a lot of things about rape allegations and stuff like that, and burning people, beheading babies, and like we hear Joe Biden saying things like that. So he proceeds to speak about what happened on October 7th and what everybody um, there is like a very nice term that everybody in the media seems to agree on, which is Hamas atrocities. So, what he alleged to be Hamas's atrocities, given that Hamas is actually um, the force or the Hamas militants are uh, the driving force for October 7th, because according to the information that I have and the intelligence that I have, it's not only Hamas, it's actually a large segment of the Palestinian people in Gaza, including Hamas militants, but militants from other groups too. But apparently, Mr. Netanyahu's problem is mainly with Hamas because it is the largest group and it has like the masterminds. Um, and what I mean, his enemies. I mean, it's because it's like the largest political armed uh, group, armed resistance group against Israel, which is to him terrorism because they want to eradicate his uh, genocidal state. But he's of course in denial of that. But let's take a listen.
And children in front of their parents. They dragged 255 people, both living and dead, into the dark dungeons of Gaza. Israel has already brought home 135 of these hostages, including 7 who were freed in during rescue operations.
Okay, so here Mr. Netanyahu speaks about the hostages. They were taken as hostages, and he's also indicating the casualties in the kibbutz that the Palestinians, the Gazans, I will just to make things easier for everybody, that the Gazans invaded on October 7th. Um, he then talks about the uh, hostages and how Hamas, uh, the bad people, the evil people, the barbaric people, according to him, burned and killed and everything and whatever, did these atrocities, committed these atrocities, and took the hostages. But he doesn't mention anything about uh, uh, his state, his terrorist states, taking Palestinian hostages too and throwing them in jails for decades and decades. Um, imprisonment of children, young children. He doesn't mention anything about the Palestinian people, actually, the whole Palestinian people, being taken as a hostage or as hostages on their homeland for over 75 years. He doesn't mention anything about that, but he's more focused on the October 7th. What happened on October 7th? Let's keep listening. They're still cheering, applauding, and
One of those three hostages, Noah Gamani, is here in the gallery, sitting near my wife Sarah.
okay, so now he proceeds to speak about the hostages. He had some hostages, and then he had some soldiers. I will just skip this part because it's not that important. I understand that he's doing this for publicity and to draw sympathy with his plans and what he's doing,
Morning of October 7th.
and because he's asking for more arms to be sent to Israel, and he's just doing everything to support his case. And so I would just skip the part in which he started to salute the soldiers, and to actually he had a Muslim soldier in the IDF, in the Zionist army, and he tried to um, produce an image of Israel that is, I would say, I mean, my position is that is untrue, of how tolerant Israel is and how, like, it welcomes everybody, and like, that's why he called that Muslim soldier in particular. But anyway, I'll just skip this part.
Asa will soon return to active duty as a commander of a tank company.
All right, so then yeah, so he's still speaking about
Served
it.
with distinction for 2 decades while raising 6 beautiful children of his own.
All
On
right.
October 7th, Moshe volunteered to return to combat.
Then he speaks about the family of one of the hostages, and how one of like a mother of someone who was taken as a hostage came to him and said to him that she had cancer and she wanted to see him one last time before she dies, and things like that. We all understand that this for like to draw sympathy. He's making his case to the U.S. Congress, and that's how he made it. So I will just not comment on that. And then he spoke about how this hostage was returned and things like that. Then I just want to get to uh, the important parts, um, the logical dialogues, the things that need to be responded to. So I'll just skip this part. Then he spoke about
Now
how,
we know
again,
Iran is funding the anti-Israel protest.
it's how important it is to support Israel, for the U.S. to support Israel and to keep supporting Israel, and how Iran is bad and things like that. So let's just get to this.
Like my son Moshe, the Jewish people are no longer helpless in the face of our enemies. They shall rise like lions. They have risen like lions. The lions of Judah, the lions of neighboring communities,
This is very
including
important.
the devastated community of Kibbutz Be'eri. Like Ashraf, the Muslim soldiers of the IDF fought alongside their Jewish, Druze, Christian, and other comrades in arms with tremendous bravery.
Oh,
While protecting his fellow soldiers from a grenade, he lost his right arm and the vision in his left eye. He's recovering, and incredibly, within a short time, Asa will soon return to active duty as a commander of a tank company. I just learned there's a fourth hero here, Lieutenant Jonathan Bechamo, who lost a leg in Gaza and continued to fight.
Of course, he is speaking here about the soldiers of the IDF, and how, in his view, they are heroes and heroes of civilization. Uh, Apparently, according to him. And then, but he doesn't mention anything about the casualties and like the Palestinian civilians. But we will get to that because he actually will mention something about it, and I will comment on it. Let's just keep listening. I want to get
Friends,
to a point.
these are the soldiers of Israel, unbowed, undaunted, unafraid.
I'm bowed, undaunted, I'm afraid. Soldiers of Israel. Cheers. Everybody's applauding and cheering.
As the Bible says, Am Kinabiyaku, they shall rise like lions. They have risen like lions.
That's very important here. Now he is calling actually a biblical text, and this is very important because he and this is not the first time that Mr. Netanyahu does that. He always makes references to biblical and Torah texts and to drive the soldiers to do things or to send his message to uh, his army, and he called them, and this is a very dangerous, subtle message, in which he indicates that they are the soldiers of Judah, and he is recalling hereby the kingdom of Judah in Israel, and that's how I mean in the ancient times, and this actually the myth that Zionism is one of the myths that it's actually using to defend the existence of the state of Israel. But I'm just underlining this statement for now. It's connected to everything he will say later, but let's keep listening.
The lions of Judah, the lions of Israel.
The lines of Judah, the lines of Israel, the two kingdoms, the two ancient kingdoms, the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of
Ladies
Israel.
and gentlemen, the men and women of the IDF come from every corner of Israeli society, every ethnicity, every color, every creed, left and right, religious and secular. All are imbued with the indomitable spirit of the Maccabees, the legendary Jewish warriors of antiquity.
Again, he is reiterating the unity of the Israeli community and saying that everybody is uh, in line for defense of the state of Israel, the Jewish state in accordance with them, and how everybody is actually they're all like they're all together in this, left and right, and he might be right, be like in light of all the support he's giving in Knesset. And everybody knows that he's a diehard Zionist, and that's why he is quite popular in Israel. So he keeps going because we all know that Israel is founded on Zionism, and he's defending that. So he's basically saying that everybody who's backing him is a Zionist and he's fighting for uh, Zionism and the state of Israel. Let's keep listening.
With us today is Yechiel Leiter, the father of one of those Maccabees. Yechiel's father escaped the Holocaust and found refuge in America. As a young man, Yechiel moved to Israel and raised a family of 8 children. He named his eldest son Moshe after his late father. Moshe became an exemplary officer in one of our elite commando units. He served with distinction for 2 decades while raising 6 beautiful children of his own. On October 7th, Moshe volunteered to return to combat. 4 weeks later, he was killed when a booby-trapped mine exploded in a tunnel shaft right next to a mosque. At his son's funeral, Yechiel said this: "If the state of Israel had not been established after the Holocaust, the image engraved in our collective memory would have been the photograph of that helpless Jewish boy in the Warsaw Ghetto holding his hands up in the air with Nazi rifles pointed at him."
This is a very dangerous statement here that the American politicians, including Joe Biden, um, uh, always lead to defend the existence of the state of Israel. He is actually saying that um, he's mentioning that in the U.S. Congress venue for that day, there was the father of an Israeli soldier who was killed 4 weeks after the October 7th, 2023, and he indicates that the father of this uh, soldier says that, and he's indicating that he's a Holocaust survivor, and this is a very dangerous connection that he's building here. So, on the mouth of this father, or on behalf of this father, and of course, when Netanyahu mentions that, that means that he agrees to that, or of course he has to. He is saying that uh, when Moses, the soldier who died, um, 4 weeks after the October 7th attack, when Moses died, he died so that all, or he was in line of deity, so that all that Jewish people shall feel safe. I repeat, he is trying here that the argument that Mr. Netanyahu is making on behalf of Moses' father. He is saying that if it wasn't for the state of Israel, all the Jewish people in the world will be persecuted and would have been targeted because of what happened to them uh, at the hands of the Nazis. And this is a fallacy because Mr. Netanyahu, uh, again, deliberately ignores mentioning that there were Jewish people in the Middle East, in Palestine precisely. I would actually like to lead Golda Meir as an example when she indicated that she was Palestinian and that everybody, uh, like she had a Palestinian passport. That's what she mentioned in one of her interviews. Uh, so there was peace on this land. Um, there are also other testimonies by other Jewish people from Iraq, from Egypt, and in Palestine too, where they were living in peace, where they were living in peace with the Arabs, with the Muslims, and the Christians. When I say the Arabs here, the Palestinians, I'd like to refer actually to make a very important connection because the Arabs with whom the Jews were living in peace in Palestine were actually the grandfathers of today's Palestinians. Many of them, I mean, and everybody, like, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's something that we cannot deny that almost all the Palestinians are backing their armed resistance against the occupation and against the state of Israel. So this connection that Mr. Netanyahu is making here apparently is based on some uh, it's a fallacy for sure, but some uh, it's illogic because the facts uh, confirm otherwise. Uh, what he is trying to connect the idea of Zionism and declaring the state of Israel to the persecution that the Jews suffered in Europe, and particularly at the hands of the Nazis. So he's trying hereby to say that if it wasn't for the state of Israel, no Jew in the world would have felt safe. And this is simply untrue. because, in light of the facts that we have here, the Jews in the U.S., after they when they fled uh, the Nazi persecution, they were welcomed and they were safe. The Jews in the UK were safe and were welcome. Um, the Jews in Albania were safe and welcome. They were not persecuted. So his allegation hereby is unfounded, and it could be a result of some psychological disorder or um, as a part of the propaganda that Mr. Netanyahu's administration has been uh, exporting or propagating in the world to draw sympathy with his position and to justify his violence against the Palestinian people. So, and for him to make this link before the US Congress and to ignore the facts of the history and to suggest that the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians and the conduct of the terrorist Zionist gangs in Palestine in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s of the past century was justified for the safety of the Jews in the whole world, which is unsubstantiated and is only or like it's it's a fallacy. He's trying to defend what his terrorist ancestors uh, were doing and saying it was for the safety of the and the security of the Jewish people, which doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense because simply it doesn't make sense that when you flee persecution in a certain part of the world and go to a safer place, that you use arms and kill the people who welcomed you into this place where you were safe. You decided to carry arms and to kill them to say that you're safe. This is false. When we test this theory, it's a false theory. Theory that Mr. Netanyahu is trying to advance, and all the Zionists are trying to advance. And we hear Joe Biden repeating that, saying that if it wasn't for Israel, no Jew would have felt safe in the world, which is bullshit. Because they were actually safe. And it was them, driven by their Zionist bigotry, who decided to kill the native people of this land. The very people among whom they were safe and welcomed. And I don't want to repeat myself, but I believe it's important actually for me to support my defense against Mr. Netanyahu's allegations. Again, I'm leading the evidence of Golda Meir uh, that she was Palestinian. Okay. For the Congress to accept this and to accept this, the US Congress to accept this theory that's being advanced by Netanyahu, it actually shows us the true face of America and the American politicians and the bigotry and their support for bigotry and the ugly face of the United States of America. the corrupt politicians of the United States of America. I would like to salute all the respectful Congress members who refuse to show up in uh, like refuse to show up for this um, travesty, I would call it. And Kamala Harris, I like this woman. I know she's married to a Jewish person. Um, I can understand that Miss Harris is probably um, a Zionist or something. I mean, I'm not sure. And I like the depth of her. Uh, like, is she a Zionist or she's a supporter of Zionism? I'm not sure. I don't believe that she has enough knowledge about the facts of the history, but I believe that she has a lot of humanity in her, and that she's not a bigot, unlike Joe Biden or Trump, or of course Benjamin Netanyahu. For instance, I believe she is more flexible, and like she could be the real change in the American politics, or at the very least, like I mean, she will face like huge resistance by the politicians from her party and the other party, and of course, like the intelligence officers, the U.S. intelligence officers. So she'll be in a very tough position. Uh, However, she will still be under like the pressure of I would say the momentum that has been building up uh, throughout the whole world, the shift in the public opinion and the public's views um, on Israel and the state of Israel, especially the Jewish population. And I would like hereby to actually show my admiration to for Lily Greenberg Cole, and I understand she was an AIPAC member, a person who was subject to indoctrination, Zionist indoctrination, and she abandoned that. She's a great person. She was an appointee, a Joe Biden appointee, but she quitted her position because she couldn't, in a good faith, continue to be in this administration in light of Joe Biden's policies. Um, is Israel policy in general. So back to Mr. Netanyahu and to the dangerous ideas that he is suggesting or mentioning to the world or to the U.S. Congress, for which all of which he was applauded for, and that's even more dangerous. But like, it's not. It doesn't come as a surprise to me because at the end of the day, we all know that these like all these politicians are corrupted, and like we know we know who pays them, and we know about their connection with U.S. intelligence officers, all of which is driven by the religious hate, um, and of course, like the religious texts, which um, like depict the Jewish people as the chosen, and that they have the right to a homeland in Palestine and things like that. And Netanyahu actually mentioned that, and we will get to that. Uh, let's just keep listening.
But because of the birth of Israel, Yahya continued, because of the courage of soldiers like my son Moshe, the Jewish people are no longer helpless in the face of our enemies.
So now he is indicating that because of Moses and the soldiers, the Israeli soldiers, that the Jewish people are no longer helpless in front of their enemies. And now I would like actually to ask a question. Why I can't understand that Hitler is an enemy of the Jewish people because of his persecution of the Jewish people. I can't understand that the Catholic Church for for decades was actually the enemy of the Jewish people because it persecuted the Jewish people. But I want to ask a question here: why did the Arabs, or why did the Palestinians become enemies of the Jewish people? The answer is clear, but Mr. Netanyahu will never mention it because he will never acknowledge the facts. He will never mention how the state of Israel was founded. He will never mention the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. He will never mention that because he believes that it's an entitlement. It's something that is religious. That what they did is actually because like we will listen to like what he says. He indicates that the Jewish people had like regained sovereignty on the land. I will get to that. I don't want to just I don't want to be too quick to respond to things that he didn't mention, but like it will all it will all come down the road as we keep listening. So let's keep listening. Applauding as usual. Yeah, everybody's cheering and everybody's happy.
Michiel, Michiel, please rise so we can honor your son's sacrifice. And I pledge to you and to all the bereaved families of Israel, some of whom are in this hall today, the sacrifice of your loved ones will not be in vain.
So he's basically capitalizing on that to say that what they are doing is for the sake of the state of Israel and for its
It will not be
existence.
vain, because for Israel, never again must never be an empty promise. It must always remain a sacred vow. And after October 7th, never again is now. My friends, defeating our brutal enemies requires both courage and clarity. Clarity begins by knowing the difference.
So again, he's calling his enemies brutal enemies, and again, he's referring to Hezbollah, to Hamas, to Iran. And again, I would like to ask Mr. Netanyahu a question: why did the Palestinians became enemies of Zionists? Why did Hezbollah, which is a part of Iran, uh, sorry, of Lebanon, and actually is formed of Lebanese citizens, why did it become uh, against the state of Israel? There are a lot of Jews in Lebanon, and they never had any problems until the state of Israel was declared. And their loyalties shifted. And same for Egypt, and same for Iraq and other states. Why did they become enemies, according to Mr. Netanyahu? And are they enemies of the Jewish people or of Zionism as a colonial, settler, terrorist movement that led to the foundation of the state of Israel after the ethnic cleansing and genocide of the native people of this land? I believe this point needs to be addressed. And of course, like Mr. Netanyahu, he will never distinguish between Zionism and Judaism because we all understand Mr. Netanyahu's plans and like his senior officials and his agents in the West who are trying to lead the public opinion and the West to a certain direction and to believe that uh, being anti-Zionism as a political movement is the same thing as being anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish as a religion, And this conflation is intended and is imperative for the continuation of the state of Israel. But on the positive side of the things, actually, we had a recent ruling from um, a UK court uh, indicating that there is a clear there is a clear distinction between Judaism and Zionism. They are not the same thing. I believe that Mr. Netanyahu is losing in this argument, but he's still repeating the same lies and the same conflation, which is essential to the continuation of the state of Israel as a colonialist and uh, settler state founded on genocide and ethnic cleansing. Uh, let's keep listening.
between good and evil. Yet incredibly, many anti-Israel.
Then he reiterates that it's a fight between the good and evil. I wanted to ask Mr. Netanyahu, uh, who is the good and who is the evil? Is the occupation and the ethnic cleansing good, and is resisting it evil? Simple. I mean, it's straightforward. Why doesn't Mr. Netanyahu accept that his state was founded on ethnic cleansing and genocide? Because the facts of the history confirm that. He cannot deny them. I mean, these are documented incidents, uh, occurrences that like took place, and they were in the news at the time. And many of these organizations, these armed Zionist organizations, were classified as terrorist groups, even by the UK, by the Crown, and they were targeting pretty much everybody who is not on their side. So, let's keep listening to Mr. Netanyahu.
Protesters. Many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. They stand with rapists and murderers. They stand with people.
Okay, so that's very very important a point here that Mr. Netanyahu is raising, because there were a lot of protesters around the U.S. Congress today while Mr. Netanyahu was addressing the U.S. Congress. Members, the politicians corrupted by the APAC and his gang. But yeah, so he's trying to say that all these protesters choose to stand with the evil because he thinks that he's the good. Uh, Ethnic cleansing is good for him, and genocide is good for him. And of course, we saw how he led his uh, like false allegation when he indicated that if it wasn't for the state of Israel, no Jewish person would have been safe in the world, which is bullshit again. And based on that, he is justifying what his soldiers are doing in Palestine and their murder of uh, the Palestinians over 9 months now, um, uh, as a good thing. Um, and now he is criticizing um, the protesters and saying that they decided to stand with Hamas, the evil. And it's very important to stop here and for a second and discuss what he is mentioning. He's calling Hamas as murderers, rapists, stuff like that. A lot of things like that. I mean, I can also say that the state of Israel, is murderous. There is a lot of sexual violence uh, committed by the state of Israel, and we all know the complaints against the sexual violence and the Israeli presence against the Palestinian people. We all know how these reports go, ignored, of course, and unaddressed and denied and all that. but he's calling Hamas people murderers and rapists and all that. This is a generalization that's simply uh, it doesn't make sense. You cannot just call like a whole group as murderers. I mean, whoever. Like, I understand there are so many contents. I mean, and he's like denying so many facts. He is actually not mentioning that there are other groups who took part in the October 7th attack, and like he didn't call them anything. He's more focused on Hamas. Hamas is in the pain in the ass. So Hamas is the pain in the ass. uh, so I it's like the murderers and the rapists, and so I'm not denying that there could be. I mean, it's an allegation again, like any allegation. Any allegation has to be substantiated, and there are credibility testing, and there are a lot of things, like a circumstantial evidence, and a lot of things. But this is fighting for the court to make. But to say that because Israel was attacked on October 7th, that the whole people who belong to a certain movement are murderers and rapists, while it could be, I mean, it's possible if there is evidence, it's possible that uh, uh, rape could have taken place. It's possible that murder of civilian people who were not resisting uh, 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 the army Palestinians who invaded Israel on October 7th, it's possible that there were civilians who died and they shouldn't have been killed. Uh, I mean, it's possible. I'm not saying it didn't happen or it did happen. I'm not a court. So while it's possible, you cannot generalize that. You cannot say that all the people who invaded Israel on October 7th uh, actually were murderers or rapists, or that they all engaged in a mass murder and rape. You cannot generalize that without having a very solid evidence on that. It's just it's still like it's an allegation, and if you don't have like a concrete evidence, then you will be less likely to be believed, and this will not support your case. uh, but let's keep listening, because like we all know about the history of the state of Israel, and like how it was founded, and like we all know who the murderers are. We all know who the rapists are. And like there are a lot of documented sexual assault cases in the Israeli prisons, like I said, and even out of the Israeli prisons and throughout history. And I don't want, like, I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. I don't want you to be bored. So I don't want to like go on sideways here. I would just be more focused on refuting Mr. Uh, Netanyahu's allegations. So let's keep listening to him.
Who came into the kibbutzim, into a home. The parents hid the children, the two babies, in the attic, in a secret attic. They murder the families, the parents. They find the secret latch to the hidden attic, and then they murder the babies. These protesters stand with them. They should be ashamed of themselves.
So again, he is mentioning a story about killing two parents and then killing the children. Again, these are all allegations that haven't been substantiated yet. And if Mr. Netanyahu actually had evidence on that, he can simply um, present it to the ICC, or like pursue justice against these people. Especially like we don't know much details about this evidence, where the parents armed or not, uh, did they try to resist the contents or not, um, and for the children, like, is it true that the parents were killed before and then the children? So there's a lot of like the factual component of this case actually it need to be established and proven beyond reasonable doubt. Um, for this narrative to be believed and for the people who engaged in this conduct, if it was found to be true, to be held accountable in accordance with the law. But to just stand before a crowd and mention things without providing evidence, this is not a court in the first place. But I understand that these are his friends and his supporters. Um, and they would just upload him for anything he says. So let's keep listening.
They refuse to make a simple distinction between those who target terrorists and those who target civilians, between the democratic state of Israel and the terrorist thugs of Hamas.
This is a very dangerous statement that's being made by Mr. Netanyahu here, because he ignores the fact that for the Palestinians who invaded Israel on October 7th, to be able to invade Israel, they had to engage with the militants first, with the soldiers first, the Israeli soldiers first. And the camera footage and the evidence established that when the Palestinians stormed into Israel on October 7th, they actually killed the soldiers first in order to for them to clear the way to the kibbutz that they attacked. So for him to say that Hamas, like Hamas, the pain in the ass, to say that, and like this again, like this inaccurate, but like so for the Palestinians to say that they stormed Israel to kill civilians without mentioning the whole picture, and to say that they are terrorists, and to blame the protesters um, for supporting or siding with the Palestinians, um, and justifying their acts even on October 7th uh, because of the long operation of persecution they have been going through. And to just uh, simplify that, and uh, partialize that, and indicate that civilians, like that, the October 7th uh, Palestinians uh, killed civilians, and while uh, Israel is targeting Hamas, according to him, the terrorists, without mentioning like so many facts, and without establishing if like the people who were killed were actually civilians or are soldiers. They could be reserve soldiers, without mentioning the very definite circumstances of each casualty, and making his case for each casualty, but rather generalizing and pouring his wrath over the protesters for siding with the Palestinians. It's a fight. It's an armed conflict, and that's how the uh, ICJ and ICC are viewing it. The armed resistance in Palestine has been ongoing since ever. It's an armed conflict that has been going on for 75 years. So, and it started by the Zionist gangs, which killed the Arabs and ethnically cleansed them to declare their state of Israel, according to them, the promised land. So, who started the killing? Who started the killing? Again, this is a fact that he's not mentioning, that he is deliberately ignoring, because he uh, believes that he's entitled to doing what his ancestors, I mean, what his ancestors did when they killed the Arabs. Uh, like he sees them as heroes, and um, like the heroes of Israel. So for him, he would skip the. He would never mention anything about why would the Palestinians um, carry guns and arms and attack Israel. He would never mention why they would do that, but rather he'd be more focused on certain incidents and like the partiality. But that's not how things should be actually regarded in general. One should be impartial, um, which is like Mr. Netanyahu clearly isn't. Um, and apparently, all the politicians, the U.S. politicians, convening with him and the U.S. Congress today, um, like, are clearly lacking in the impartiality. Let's keep listening.
We recently learned from the National Security Director, U.S. Director of National Intelligence, that Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America. So these protests.
So he's suggesting that Iran is promoting the protests, the anti-Israel protests in America. This the U.S. intelligence director. I mean, I'm not sure if he said that, but even if he said that, we all know like the U.S. intelligence director, um, like who, like they make mistakes. But like to suggest that it's Iran that's funding these protesters. Why didn't Kamala Harris attend your speech, Mister Netanyahu? And is Bernie Sanders financed by Iran to disrupt America? So are you trying? And Bernie Sanders is a Zionist, by the way, but he has conscience and he acts in good faith, regardless of his background. I mean, I disagree with him on the political background. Are you trying to tell me that Bernie Sanders and other senators who didn't show up for your speech today, they're and of course in protest for, I mean, and they made it clear. Um, I mean, even the big supporters of Israel and the existence of Israel. Are you trying to tell me that Iran paid them? Wow, that's a wild statement to make. So whoever is protesting against Israel, including the senators, because they are inseparable, including them, they're all like being paid by Iran. They're agents for Iran. Like, fuck that, man. Fuck's sake. And I don't want to get into that because like there are so many senators who decided not to show up today. One of them actually, I listened to him yesterday. He was mentioning that his problem is with Netanyahu and his gang, his extremist, the extremist members in his government. So he's pro-Israel and he's supportive of Israel. But come on, man, come on, to say like for the protests to be freaking uh, uh, driven by Iran. Fuck, man, fuck. Like seriously. Anyway, let's get back to like listening what this nutcase is freaking. He's rambling. Keep rambling, baby.
Even on the 4th of July. And I wish to salute the fraternity brothers at the University of North Carolina who protected the American flag.
And I mean, he's talking about like the Lord. I don't want to. I'm not going to comment on this incident. Like, but there is a lot of sentiment that's being, you know, I believe no, I believe it's important to comment on that because the support the U.S. Uh, support unwavered support for the state of Israel since ever, contributed to that sentiment, that anger that has built up over the years throughout the whole world because of their support of the ethnic cleansing and the genocidal agenda, and like that is the foundation for the state of Israel. I mean, again, I'm not justifying what these people did, but like, it's like everybody, like, it's clear, like everybody can see it now that how corrupt the U.S. politicians are and how corrupt the U.S. Congress is. Again, they are applauding him for what he said. That's fucked up. Let's keep listening. He's trying to make them think that they are in danger, and look, they're burning your flag and shit like that. Well, they're burning the flag. It's a symbol for, like, it's because of the sentiment. It's because of what America has been doing. Actually, it's that criminal stance of America in the matter of Palestine. We all saw like how the whole world was trying to pass a resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza, and like even those who, for all like the states which abstained, at some point the UK abstained, Canada abstained, and like there were countries that abstained, but that resolution was never passed because of the American veto. And now you're blaming them um, for burning the American flag. Come on, come on. That was for a reason, right? I mean, of course they can justify their position, and an officer could have made like a case for them and accused them of treason, or if they were American citizen or so, and of course they are presumed innocent until found guilty. But apparently, Mr. Netanyahu actually uh, decided to uh, find American citizens guilty without a trial, and this is actually very similar to what I went through here in Canada. My case, which is like which Mr. Netanyahu's team and gang actually uh, built against me. He decided to assign himself as a de facto judge without having uh, a lawful authority in accordance with the U.S. laws, and to condemn and to convict American citizens without a trial. Wow! And the crowd shouted, "USA, USA!" For fuck's sake, man, this wild. Let's keep listening.
For all we know, Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building. Not that many, but they're there and throughout the city. Well, I have a message for these folks.
Again, he is he is repeating the same allegation that Iran is funding the protest. This is insane, man. This is fucked up. Is Iran funding the ICC? Is Iran funding the ICJ? Come on, man. Fuck, man. Did Iran fund the ICJ judge, the Australian judge, the American judge, the German judge, who actually found Israel to be a fucking apartheid state? For fuck's sake! This guy's fucked up. Let's keep listening, man.
When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from trains and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become.
Oh, okay. Mentioning the tyrants of Tehran who are murdering the women for not covering their hair and shit like that. Masa Amini, basically, he is recalling this case. As a matter of fact, and there are so many YouTube videos which actually show that women in Tehran actually wouldn't be persecuted for like showing some a part of their hair or something like that. I'm not justifying what happened to Massa Amini. What happened to Massa Amini is wrong. It shouldn't have happened. But look at what Mr. Netanyahu is trying to lead here. He's calling America democracy, great land, great nation, you know, leader of the free world, as he will get to that later. But he never mentioned anything about the injustices in the American history. Never mentioned anything about the persecution of the black people. Never mentioned anything about Black Lives Matter. Never mentioned anything about the injustice that many American citizens went throughout history. He decided instead to be focused on a certain case or a certain injustice that took place in Iran for improper reasons. Instead of condemning the wrong and asking for a remedy or pursuing a lawful remedy, for instance, persecuting the Iranian regime before the ICC and filing a lawsuit in this regard, no. He continues to wear the cloak of the judge and to judge everybody. A prejudiced judge, a one eyed judge, a judge who will always favor his friends and his campaign. But this is not justice because we know that a judge shouldn't be prejudiced. And the definition of prejudice, in accordance with the Supreme Court of Canada's jurisprudence, indicates that, like, or it's like a long definition. The case law in this regard is extensive, but the bottom line of it is that a judge shouldn't be close-minded to the case of a certain party. Should be objective. Is Mr. Netanyahu objective? No, he's not. And this all for malicious goals. Just to support his cause, the Zionist cause. And we all know that. Let's keep listening.
Iran's useful idiots.
Oh, and then he's calling the protesters idiots. Let's get, because what he's about to say is very entertaining. And they all uploaded it. They are all in a state of denial. Genocide supporters.
Some of these protesters, that's amazing, absolutely amazing. Some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC.
Chickens for KFC. Gays for Gaza. He is outraged by that.
These protesters chant from the river to the sea, but many don't have a clue what river and what sea they're talking about.
Okay, so I can respond to Mr. Netanyahu. Well, I would count myself as one of these protesters. I know what river they are referring to. The Jordan River, and the sea is the Mediterranean, which is the sovereign land of Palestine, the Palestinian people, that was divided later and partitioned. So from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. There's no place for the state of Israel, the colonialist, apartheid, genocidal state of Israel. Simple, like everybody almost like knows that, and like even if like there's some ignorance who don't even know what river and what sea, but they are supporting the Palestinian cause and defending the just cause of the Palestinian people in light of the barbarism and brutality and criminality and genocide and ethnic cleansing of um, your criminal gang. There's nothing wrong with that. They don't actually have to know whatever and let's see. Um, they just need to be humane, and that's what they are. They are humane, but Mr. Netanyahu is not because he's a criminal piece of shit. He's outraged. He's not happy. Absolutely. So let's keep listening.
They not only get an F in geography, they get an F in history.
Oh.
They call Israel a colonial state. Don't they?
And that's very important, actually, to get to that. So he's trying to say that they are ignorant, which they absolutely are not. I mean, he should have actually conducted a survey before making this judgment. Um, he should have actually established evidence. He should have gone through, like, down the streets and asked the protesters, "Do you guys know what C and whatever are you referring to?" And see if whether they know or they doesn't or they don't. But like, he didn't even like make any effort in this regard and decided instead to make his judgment as usual, and saying that they got F in geography, and not only that, they got F in history. And let's take a listen to what he indicated and his grounds for or his justification for why these protesters got an F for history. And look at him, like now he's so angry, and that's the climax in his speech, which is like it's very important. Let's take a listen because that actually what he's about to say is actually the main reason why I decided to make this video, just to refute his fallacies and to respond to the bullshit that he uh, led to the U.S. Congress today.
No, the land of Israel is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob prayed, where Isaiah and Jeremiah preached, and where David is.
Okay, so now and that's very very important. And now he's like he's still like he's still rambling on. He's very excited, very angry, and like holy shit, man! And don't they know that this is the land of Abraham? This is the land of Jacob, and then and he kept doing that. That's a very important point that I would like to cover here, since he said that these protesters got F in history, and I would assume that defense for these protesters against Mr. Netanyahu's allegations. So he's basically saying that he has the right to the state because historically this is the land of Abraham, this is the land of Jacob and Isaac and Jeremiah and so on and so on. It all started with Abraham. Let's talk about Abraham. Was Abraham Palestinian? The truth is that Abraham was not Palestinian. Abraham migrated from Iraq to Palestine. So, in accordance with history, Abraham was not native to this land. He rather arrived at this land, lived with its people, the native people of this land, and his wife gave birth to Isaac, and then Jacob came as a son of Isaac. They all lived on this land. That's true. Joseph, the son of Jacob, under certain circumstances, ended up being ended up in Egypt, and then Jacob and his sons followed and settled in Egypt. So again, Jacob migrated to Egypt like his grandfather migrated from Iraq to Palestine. So, according to history, Abraham is not native to the land. Jacob is not. Of course, the whole descent is not native to this land. They lived on the land with the native people who welcomed them and lived peacefully side to side with them. But that doesn't make them native to the land. And this actually refutes Mr. Netanyahu's theory that the Zionists of today, the criminals of today, have a right to this land because this is the land of Abraham, according to him and Jacob. They have the right to rule this land, to kill its native population, because according to him, it's the land of Abraham and Jacob and Isaac, which is not true according to the historical facts. The question now is, who got an F in history, Mr. Netanyahu? Of course, he will never admit it because this guy's a nutcase. He should go to a mental health institution. Him and all his allies would argue that all those who were applauding for him in the US Congress today should go to mental health institutions. These people are, and I can see clearly the symptoms of psychopathic personality disorder, narcissist personality disorder. They're very clear here. It's here. It's like, it's founded on myth, religious beliefs, unfounded religious beliefs that are pertinent to its holders. So it became a cult, actually. Zionism is a cult, is a new religion that is replacing, actually, I would say, a big sector of the church Christianity of today, and of course, Judaism. And Mr. Netanyahu is the leader of this cult today.
For nearly 4,000 years, the land of Israel has been the homeland of the Jewish people. It's always been our home. It will always be our home.
Okay. So now he is based on his um, erroneous statement. He is founding on that and saying that it's their home, and it has been for I don't remember how many thousand years. It has been their home for all these years, which is untrue in accordance with the facts of the history. I mean, it's it's true that there were Jewish people who lived in Palestine, but that doesn't make it their land. When you live in a place, or the land for this religion, or that people from this religion should actually preside and should actually rule this land. That's simply um, a logical fallacy. Um, It's a wrong statement. I mean, say for instance, I'm here. I migrated to Canada from Egypt. I've been living here for 7 years. I might end up being a Canadian citizen. So I lived here with other Canadians, people from other races, people who have other religions and beliefs or so. Can I come all of a sudden and say, oh, listen, because I'm Muslim or because I'm Arab and I lived here for a certain period of time, I'm entitled to ruling this land, to ruling Canada, and to get arms and kill Canadians who would oppose me and oppose my ethnic group, whatever the fuck it is, um, only because it's my land. I lived in it for a while. But what about the other fucking people you've been living with? That's simply what Mr. Netanyahu is trying to lead here as evidence to the U.S. Congress today. And well, I'm not surprised. I mean, it's all fake, the whole thing. But for fuck's sake, I mean, and I'm not surprised for another reason. Maybe because that's the way the United States was founded itself. I mean, come on, we all know it was founded on ethnic cleansing and genocide of the indigenous people. So, like, this is not your homeland. You don't have the right to rule. It's not the land for Jews. Palestine is not the land for Jews. Palestine is for everybody. I mean, Jesus was Jewish. Well, the people who followed him, like he had significant problems with uh, the leaders of the temple, the religious leaders of the temple at the time. So many people who followed him and followed his law and became Christians, while those teachings, sorry, the classic Jewish leaders, decided to fight him. At the end of the day, these people who were Christians and who were persecuted for long times for believing in Jesus and all that, they still lived in Palestine, even though they refused the old teachings of the classic Jewish leaders who ended up being in conflict with Jesus. They still lived in Palestine. Come on. And there were the people of Palestine who followed that, like Jesus, so many of them. And the Jews are not, and this is actually to correct these fallacies. The Jews or the people who believed in Jacob and Isaac were not only the descendants or their sons. Like average people, Palestinian people actually believe in Jesus and believe in Moses and believe in Isaac. Even the Palestinians of today, they believe in Abraham, they believe in Jacob, they believe in David, Moses, and all these, um, all these prophets. Most of them are believers. For you to come and say, "Oh, this is our land," because Jacob lived here for and Abraham lived here and all that, this is bullshit. This is the land of its natives, and freedom of religion is for everybody. So, Mr. Netanyahu's right, actually, to indicate that this land should be ruled by the Jewish people, or to be a Jewish state. This bullshit. This bullshit. Um, so let's get back to this very interesting speech by Mr. Netanyahu. Actually, just keep listening. Wow, man. Wow.
It's not only the campus protesters who get it wrong. It's also the people who run those campuses. 80 years after the Holocaust. 80 years after the Holocaust.
Again, he is pouring his wrath again not only on the campuses or the protesters, but also the managers, the people who are running these campuses, like the directors and the deans of these campuses, for allowing this to happen. And now he is recalling the Holocaust again after the foundation on the wrong foundation and the false foundation that he laid in the beginning, which he indicated that if it wasn't for the state of Israel, everybody would be pointing a rifle to the heads of the Jewish people. And this is just fucked up. So now he's recalling the Holocaust. Let's keep listening.
Residents of Harvard then, and I'm ashamed to say my alma mater, MIT, couldn't bring themselves to condemn the calls for the genocide of Jews. Remember what they said? They said, it depends on the context. Well, let me.
And now he is actually recalling uh, the. I believe there was a hearing for inquiring about. I mean, I remember at some point they called, and this I believe this what he is referring to here. They had a hearing, or actually multiple hearings, in the U.S. Congress in which they called the deans of Harvard, Columbia universities, and other universities, and they asked them why did they allow these protests to take place in the campuses, and how did they allow the chant "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" to be um, repeated, or why did they tolerate it? And I still remember when they um, testified, the deans. I remember one of the senators was, or actually more than one senator, actually, were trying to suggest that this chant is genocidal and calls for the eradication of the Jewish people, which is bullshit because we all know that. The problem is with the Zionist movement. Just gave the land back to its people, its native people, and you will get peace because just let's have justice done first, and then we'll talk about the rest. But you can't say that they want to kill all the Jewish people. That's not true, and Mr. Netanyahu knows that. But he always like because that's I mean that's his argument for um, justifying the existence of the state of Israel. If he didn't make this argument, he knows that he loses because he wants always to portray that there is a fight between barbarism and civilization, and that whoever is against the Zionist state and who is trying to correct the wrong is actually trying to kill the people and to kill the Jews and to ethnically cleanse them. And my question to Mr. Netanyahu is, why didn't the Palestinians, if this allegation is true, why didn't the Palestinians do that when the Jews fled to Palestine from their persecution in Europe? Why didn't the Palestinians do that back then? If this allegation is true, this guy is a liar. Most of the world knows that, but he is being covered by his um, co-accused, I would say, his co-accused or his partners in crime. This guy's a criminal, and his supporters are criminals too.
Give these befuddled academics a little context.
I don't understand Mr. Netanyahu's problem with the context here. When one of the deans indicated it depends on the context. The context is clear. It's context of occupation. of ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people, of stealing their land by the force of arms, uh, uh, because of the Zionist criminal and terrorist groups. That's the context, Mr. Netanyahu, just in case you don't understand. But apparently, you're too blind to see it because you feel entitled to occupying this land and to ruling it because of your narcissism and your sense that you're the chosen and you should occupy this land. Nobody should say no to you. How dare they? How dare they? And of course, he's a psychopath. I mean, he would never admit they're wrong. Let's keep listening to this psychopath.
Anti-Semitism is the world's oldest hatred. For centuries, the massacre of Jews was all.
The world is oldest hatred, anti-Semitism, the hate of Jews. Then he would start talking about the persecution that the Jews went through um, in Europe for centuries at the hands of the Catholic Church, and then in Europe and all that. Well, this statement is not true. I mean, the world is all this hatred is not anti-Semitism because the world is actually older than uh, Jacob and Abraham. And for instance, why did one of Adam's sons kill the other? I mean, there was hate. The first murder in the history of humankind. I mean, so it's not anti-Semitism is not the oldest world's hatred. There's older, but apparently because Mr. Netanyahu is inaccurate and is bad with academics and with scientific language, he makes mistakes. He makes factual mistakes. He has problems with the facts because he's living in his own bubble. He cannot see outside it. What a narcissist. Because for him, everything revolves around himself. He's the center of the world. That's what narcissists are. That's how narcissists view the world. It's them first, and everything goes around them. That's fucked up. So sad. Let's keep listening to this narcissist.
Was preceded by wild accusations. We were accused of everything from poisoning wells, to spreading plagues, to using the blood of slaughtered children to bake Passover matzahs. These preposterous anti-Semitic lies led to persecution, mass murder, and ultimately to history's worst genocide, the Holocaust. Now, just
Okay, so this is something that I would actually agree with Mr. Netanyahu on. These allegations that he made are true, and it's sad actually that the Jewish people had to go through that. Uh, but I mean, and I don't deny that. I mean, these facts. I mean, these things took place, and it's sad actually that these historical facts are true. But on the other side, I would like to remind Mr. Netanyahu actually uh, of the persecution that Jesus went through too, and how he was sentenced unfairly to death at the hands of the Jewish. Um, what was it? What were they called? Rabbis. At the hands of the Jewish rabbis, because he disagreed with them. Um, I mean, and the persecution that followed that, the persecution of all who believed in him, and the hate that the followers of these rabbis had for whoever believed in Jesus. Why doesn't he mention that? Why is he so focused on uh, the grievance of his own people? Like it's the only grievance that any human race or any uh, people of certain beliefs went through. Why doesn't he condemn everything, including the things that uh, were committed in the history uh, by the people who actually uh, represent that, who are pretty much, I mean, I don't know, like I think it's reasonable to say that who were his ancestors. I mean, they don't have to be his biological ancestors, but his religious ancestors, I would say. Why doesn't he mention that? No, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. Because he likes to play the victim's role, and again, it's a part of, you know, uh, manipulative tactics that um, people with psychopathic personality disorder, which I believe is severe in this case, one of the tactics that these people actually resort to in order to justify their criminal conduct. So let's get back to what Mr. Netanyahu is saying here.
These malicious lies were leveled for centuries at the Jewish people. Malicious lies are now being leveled at the Jewish state. No, no, don't block.
Oh, 1 second here. Well, these are not malicious lies. When I say that there were Zionist gangs that were terrifying and killing whoever goes against their agenda, their religious, their religious bigotry, that's not a lie. I mean, it's substantiated. It's supported with facts. Um, it's not a lie. It's a fact, and the history is clear in this regard. Um, the Jewish state, like I think I discussed extensively. Uh, like, of course, I disagree with that. This a certain state has like gives uh, certain privilege to people from a certain religion or a certain ethnic background, or because I believe in equality. But it's like Jewish state, for fuck's sake, what the fuck, man? I mean, seriously. Um, and that's one of the problems that I have with the state of Israel. I mean, it's a theocratic state, and I don't like states having labels like religion in their names, because for me, a state is not well. Religion is something that is pertinent to persons and groups of persons, not to a regulatory body. Like a state is like sort of administrative body that regulates how things go in a certain community, and so and tries to achieve the best interests of this community. But just, and I'd like to mention the civilized nations actually. Civilized states actually treat every citizen equally, regardless of their religion, regardless of their uh, ethnic background, regardless of any other consideration. Um, so these are not lies that are being leveled against Israel. Everybody is seeing the genocide that's unfolding in Gaza. Everybody saw Mr. Netanyahu and other top officials in the state of Israel mentioning Amalek and how they should be eradicated, and how nobody in Gaza is innocent, and they all should be killed. So the genocidal intent is clear, which is the mens rea in this case. It was very clear and manifest, and like everybody saw it. The whole world saw it. So these are not lies, but like we're seeing a person who is in a very deep denial state. This is actually a mental thing. This is actually, he's pretty much trying to make his case here, um, because he's not being tried yet. He wasn't arrested yet, and so he's trying to make his defense here, but denying. But it's a very like common tactic that many criminals um, resort to, especially when they are dishonest and apparently mentally disturbed, like Mr. Netanyahu, or have like apparently severe mental health conditions like this person. Um, so now he is making his defense before the U.S. Congress, which is unfortunately siding with him, these politicians. Um, he's just campaigning against the whole world, apparently, campaigning against the UN, campaigning against the ICJ, the ICC. And he will mention something about Karim Khan, the prosecutor of the ICC. Let's get to that.
Listen, the outrageous slanders that paint Israel as racist and genocidal are meant to delegitimize Israel.
Oh, he's trying to say that Israel is it's slander. That when the ICJ decided that there was a plausible case of genocide after the Republic of South Africa made its application and argued its application to the ICJ, and the ICJ found that there was a plausible case of genocide. Mr. Netanyahu is calling this slandering. Well, that's not how it works, Mr. Netanyahu. These are allegations that were proven before the ICJ. The evidence was submitted in the court, and Israel had the right to defend itself, um, but they couldn't actually address the substance of the application of the Republic of South Africa. They couldn't address it appropriately, um, and the court found beyond reasonable doubt that there was a plausible case for genocide. And there's actually a ruling of not only one judge or two judges or so. There's a majority of uh, the top court, the top world court, the top world court, including an American judge. I mean, the chief judge, that the president of this court at the time, she was American. The same nation that you're addressing their Congress and calling the ICJ ruling slander. They're not slandering you. I mean, they made allegations, and these allegations were substantiated, and the court found there was a plausible case of genocide. And they actually, by the way, Mr. Netanyahu, uh, they actually served or filed the Mr. Netanyahu's statements about the Amalek or so as evidence on the mens rea, and evidence that the court accepted, as a matter of fact. So there were reasonable grounds for the court to decide that there was a plausible case of genocide. And if Mr. Netanyahu wants to appeal the court's decision, he has to convince us, based on reasonable grounds, that the court's findings are wrong. I mean, I mean that there is an error of law. So far, Mr. Netanyahu didn't um, argue why the court's findings are not correct or are wrong. The standard of correctness is the standard for the courts of appeal. So he's not arguing actually that why the evidence that was filed was insufficient, or like, we don't see any reasonable argument here made by Mr. Netanyahu. But otherwise, he's saying these allegations are false and slandering, or no, these are not. These are beyond the level of false allegations, Mr. Netanyahu. These allegations were freaking proven at court. Again, he's still denying. He's still like, and these are all like these are again these are traits of the psychopathic and narcissistic personality disorders. Um, the evidence is there. The whole world saw it. Israel was given the chance to defend itself. She was given all the time. It was given all the time to make its submissions, and they didn't address like the submissions of the Republic of South Africa, which argued a which made like wonderful submissions, um, and showed like high level of expertise and legal professionalism, unlike Mr. Netanyahu and his gang. Let's keep listening.
To demonize the Jewish state and to demonize Jews everywhere. And
Well, that's not true. First of all, you don't have the right, Mr. Netanyahu, to speak on behalf of all the Jews. So many Jews are against you. So many Jews are against the Zionist state of Israel. So many Jews, even inside Israel, Mr. Netanyahu, so many Jews acknowledged the right of the Palestinians to their land and acknowledged the brutal and the bad history and the criminal history of the state of Israel. These people are of good conscience, but Mr. Netanyahu is not. So nobody's trying to demonize the Jewish state or so. These are not false allegations. I believe Israel of today is being demonized because of people like you, Mr. Netanyahu, and all the bigots in your government and all the criminals who are supporting you in the US Congress. You're all a bunch of terrorists, and the whole world now actually saw you for who you are, um, including the ICC prosecutor King's Counsel, Mr. Kareem Khan, that Mr. Netanyahu and his gang are not happy with because they're going after him. Based on the evidence that the prosecutor said he had, the prosecutor had the right to prosecute his case. I mean, if Mr. Netanyahu believes that he is innocent, why doesn't he just uh, goes to trial and make his defense? Is it because he knows that he's a criminal and he will be convicted? He has no chance to win an acquittal because he is convicted as hell and he will be punished for all his crimes. But Mr. Netanyahu needs to understand that no matter what he does, he'll be held accountable for all the crimes that he committed.
wonder, no wonder we've witnessed an appalling rise of anti-Semitism in America and around the world. My friends,
Appalling rise in anti Semitism in America and around the world. Anti Semitism is true. I mean, there is. Like, some people hate the Jews for who they are. There's a problem, there's a difference between anti Semitism and anti Zionism. The unprecedented levels of hate for the Jewish people, unfortunately, are actually to be. Um, I mean, I believe it's Mr. Netanyahu and his group, his gang, that bear the lion's share of the responsibility in this regard because of the conduct of because of his criminal conduct. And again, I'm not hereby justifying any attacks on the Jewish people. It's wrong. Violence is bad. Violence shouldn't be allowed and is condemned. But Mr. Netanyahu actually clearly manifested uh, a deep problem because he decided to appoint himself as a speaker for all the Jewish people in the world and to uh, engage in genocidal acts in Gaza um, on behalf or in the name of the Jewish people in the world. Unfortunately, he appointed himself as a speaker for the Jewish people in the world, and this is so sad. This reflects negatively on the Jewish people around the world, even the Jewish people who are against his or against the Zionist state and Israel and don't believe that it's a legitimate state and all that. Because the atrocities and the criminality and the terrorism and the ethnic cleansing they're engaging in smear the um, reputation of the Jewish people all over the world and make some people think that all the Jewish people are evil because what the state of Israel is doing in Palestine is evil. And this is sad because Mr. Netanyahu and all the Israeli officials and their supporters believe that Israel has the right to speak for all the Jews in the world. This is so sad. And again, I discussed earlier who started the hatred and the bloodshed in Palestine and who broke the peace in Palestine and started all of that.
Whenever, ever we see the scourge of anti-Semitism, we must unequivocally condemn it and resolutely fight it, without exception.
Okay, I don't accept anti Semitism and I reject it, but in the same time, I reject Zionism. I reject the genocidal acts of the state of Israel. Um, I believe that Mr. Netanyahu is a criminal. There is adequate evidence on that. All his supporters are criminals, and I believe there should be a reconciliation. I believe that it will take a long time to fix all the damage that the criminal Zionists did to the reputation of the Jewish people and how they are being viewed and perceived around the world today. Uh, will take some time, but I don't believe that Mr. Netanyahu has the right to speak about anti Semitism because he is contributing to it. He is feeding it. And he is insisting, of course, on conflating anti Zionism with anti Semitism to serve his malicious goals. Applause!
And don't be fooled. When the blood libels against the Jewish state come from people who wear fancy silk robes and speak in lofty tones about law and justice, here's a case in point.
Now he's directing his vitriol against the law officials, the international, um, the ICC and ICJ. Well, let's get to that. That's the point. That's the reason, actually. I would argue this is actually the main reason why Mr. Netanyahu was called to address the U.S. Congress today. They are giving him a podium to make his defense and his case. Um, Unfortunately, um, against the whole world, against the whole world, who beard witnesses to his criminality and the criminality of those Zionist monsters. Let's keep listening.
Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has shamefully accused Israel of deliberately starving the people of Gaza. This is utter, complete nonsense. It's a complete fabrication.
And I would like to respond to this. Mr. Netanyahu gets to the prosecutor, Mr. Karim Khan's accusation of the state of Israel of using starvation as a method to commit genocide against the people of Gaza. And then Mr. Netanyahu mentions how great the state of Israel is and how aid was allowed into Gaza and all that. And he is saying that these accusations are nonsense and are utter falseness. Well, there is. I mean, the prosecution has to make its case. It has to file evidence. There is evidence that the state of Israel actually engaged into starvation of the people in Gaza. This evidence, I saw that evidence in the court. Actually, if you want to make your defense, Mr. Netanyahu, you don't make it before the U.S. Congress. You make it in court, in trial. Okay, the prosecution has the right to make its case and to file the evidence it has, and you have the right to make your defense. If your position is that it's utter falseness, it's not supported. These allegations are not supported with evidence. I have seen the evidence myself. Just go to the court and make your defense. I mean, you can. I mean, it's the burden is on the prosecution to prove their case. I mean, if you're making an allegation, you have to prove it. You can't just come and make your defense without hearing the prosecution's case, Mr. Netanyahu, without hearing the evidence they have, which they have to file in the court. You're not a judge, Mr. Netanyahu. But apparently, his statements came to the liking of the U.S. Congress politicians, or we all know that all these people who are applauding are corrupt as fuck. I mean, whoever doesn't know is a freaking fool.
Israel has enabled more than 40,000 aid trucks to enter Gaza. That's 500,000 tons of food, and that's more than 3,000 calories for every man, women, and child in Gaza.
Okay, so he's mentioning numbers about the aid that Israel allowed into Gaza, and that's more than 3,000 calories per person in Gaza. Like 3,000 calories, what, per day, per week, per month? Well, you have to prove that. I mean, if you're making that allegation, you can't prove that in the court, and that will stand against the prosecution's case. Again, this is not the right place to make your defense, Mr. Netanyahu. He has like a great hardship, significant hardship apparently, with understanding that. But like at the end of the day, again, that's not how it works. There's evidence, like from videos, there's evidence that the soldiers were supporting settlers who were attacking the aid convoys to Gaza, and that there was starvation. And these allegations were leveled actually by David Cameron and by other UK officials. And there is evidence of that. You can't just say they are false allegations. I mean, and if they are false allegations, there's another thing that I would like to mention. Why did the U.S. Army want to send aid from? I believe they wanted to build a port in Cyprus or a place close to Gaza so that they can get aid in. And why did the U.S. Why did the U.S. send airplanes? The U.S., Egypt, and Jordan, they were dropping aid like from the air on Gaza because there was no food. So Mr. Netanyahu, and let's get to the rest of what Mr. Netanyahu mentioned here, because as usual, he is he is ignoring the facts and he is lying. Of course, he's trying to blame everything on Hamas. But let's listen. Let's take a listen. Just there's evidence supporting otherwise. Let's just take a listen.
If there are Palestinians in Gaza who aren't getting enough food, it's not because Israel is blocking it. It's because Hamas is stealing it.
Okay, now he's saying that Hamas is stealing it, and it's not because Israel is blocking it. If you're saying that, Mr. Netanyahu, how do you explain that, like the videos in which that trucks are not allowed to get into Gaza and are being attacked by the settlers who protested theirs for days and days and said that this food shouldn't get to the people in Gaza and were not opposed by the soldiers, and they stayed there for days and days, and the aid was never entered at this certain period of time, and like the soldiers who represent the authority of the state of Israel as an occupier power, they didn't deal appropriately with these settlers. And the result was that no aid was allowed into Gaza for days and days. How do you explain that? And how do you explain that the UK indicated that the aid was not getting in, including the UK aid to Gaza, not only the Egyptian aid or so. And the US too, they wanted to get the aid through the sea because Israel was not allowing the aid. If you're saying that, you're going actually against the UK and the US too. For fuck's sake, this guy is he fucking lost it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The evidence is overwhelming. And again, you cannot just make this defense in front of the US Congress without hearing the case against you. And Mr. Netanyahu, you will be fucking convicted for that. Because there's evidence on that. And those who are applauding for you, we all know they are fucking your puppets. And they were all funded by IPAC. And if you're saying that the protesters in the US are funded by Iran, no, the truth of the matter is that the US Congress politicians are funded by your lobby. Criminal. Just keep listening.
So much for that lie. But here's another. The ICC prosecutor accuses Israel of deliberately targeting civilians. What in God's green earth is he talking about?
Again, he is trying to make defense against the ICC prosecutor when he said that Israel is targeting civilians, and he's denying it. But let's get to that, because this part is very interesting actually, and I will connect it to Mr. Netanyahu's previous statements in public, which were broadcasted in the media, and like the Israeli soldiers actually repeated them and were chanting them when they first invaded Gaza.
The IDF has blocked millions of flyers, sent millions of text messages, made hundreds of thousands of phone calls to get Palestinian civilians out of harm's way.
So he's trying to say that how ethical, how moral the IDF or the Israeli army is, as they they try to make sure that the civilians are safe, and that they tell them to leave and to go to the safe zones and all that. But also there is evidence, Mr. Netanyahu, and again, the onus is on the crown, is on the prosecutor actually to prove beyond reasonable doubt these allegations. You're saying that the people were getting text messages and go to the safe zones and all that. There's evidence that these safe zones were attacked once the civilians went there. They were still being attacked. And that's the evidence that the prosecutor has to prove, has to lead to the court to prove their case. You're denying that this happened, but the facts will be established in the court, and you'll be fucking convicted, you fucking criminal. Simple like that. let's keep listening to this travesty. And let's yeah. Now he will mention something about a conversation that he had with one of his uh, senior army officers and what he told him. You know, and it's fucking it's a joke. You'll listen to it.
At the same time, Hamas does everything in its power to put Palestinian civilians in harm's way. They fly rockets from schools, from hospitals, from mosques. They even shoot their own people when they try to leave the war zone. A senior Hamas official, Fatih Khan, posted, listen to this, he posted, that Palestinian women and children excel at being human shields. His words, excel at being human shields. What?
So he's trying to say that Hamas is killing the Palestinian people. And this all bullshit that he has been saying, and like we so like, come on, did Hamas kill? Do you remember the flower massacre, Mr. Netanyahu? And the army officers, the Israeli army officers, said they will investigate. I didn't hear anything about the investigation. Was it Hamas who did it? A Shifa hospital, and on and all these things that have been committed, all these atrocities, all these crimes for which nobody was held accountable. Did Hamas do that? Did Hamas kill the people in the flower massacre and others? And he's trying to use a post by a person like he alleged to be a Hamas officer. I don't know this person, and I didn't see this post, and I don't know what he said. He alleged that this officer or this Hamas member said that they were that the Palestinian women and children excel in being shields, human shields. Let me remind Mr. Netanyahu of the evidence that the Republic of South Africa filed in its application to the ICJ. And Isaac Herzog, when he said that nobody is innocent, all the Palestinians, nobody is innocent, there is no civilian and Hamas, they are all the same. And the chants that the Israeli soldiers were repeating when they said that they're all Amalek and they're all not innocent. Nobody is innocent. There's no civilian in Hamas. Now he's trying to say that, oh, the Hamas think that women and children are great human shields. Actually, the genocidal intent was proven, Mr. Netanyahu, by you and the other Israeli officials. It was proven beyond reasonable doubt. Yet you're still trying to blame it on Hamas? What a fucking psychopath. What a fucking criminal. This guy needs a lot of correction. Fucking bird.
Monstrous evil. For Israel, every civilian death is a tragedy. For Hamas, it's a strategy. They actually.
Oh, for Israel, every civilian death is a tragedy. And for Hamas, it's a strategy. You said. So why were your soldiers chanting that nobody's innocent and all the civilians should be killed too? Because they are the Amalek. And why did you mention that the Amalek should be eradicated? All of them, their women, their children, their animals, everything. Fucking criminal. He's denying the facts. He needs to be examined about his statements, his prior statements, and now he's trying to deny them. The evidence has been established beyond reasonable doubt. And justice will be done. Fucking bird.
They want Palestinian civilians to die, so that Israel will be smeared in the international media and be pressured to end the war before it's over.
Oh, oh, no, not a single civilian died. Oh, so that Israel will be smeared in the international media and shit. What the fuck, man? There is a plausible case of genocide. There is a plausible case of genocide found by the ICJ. Israel, it was found by the top court of the world, Mr. Netanyahu, that there is a plausible case of genocide. It's not about Israel being smeared in the media. It's well beyond that. This guy doesn't even have an idea what's going on. Fucking retard. Holy shit. And there are arrest warrants. And let me remind you, Mr. Netanyahu, that the ICC prosecutor is King's Counsel. And the crown is not so happy with what you're doing, Netanyahu. I can't tell. I mean, despite the problem that I have with the crown because of your gang, criminal.
One. This will enable Hamas to survive another day, and as they vow, to carry out October 7th again and again and again. Well,
I mean, if you don't want October 7th to happen again and again and again, and again, like I'm not defending any criminal conduct that was um, that was committed against any civilians, if there was any. But what I'm saying is, it's an armed conflict. I mean, and Hamas and the other militant groups have the right to attack the Israeli army and its all officers to liberate Palestine. I mean, that's the goal. You see, they're definitely entitled to it. If you don't want to fight Netanyahu, why don't you just renounce the state of Israel and live in peace with the Arabs? Just give them back their lands, and we'll take it from there. Let's make peace, okay? But let's do justice first. Simple as that. Dismantle your fucking army, dismantle your fucking state voluntarily, and let's sit down for peace. But of course, Netanyahu, you won't be sitting down with the Arabs when the peace talks uh, are the real peace talks are conducted because you will be in prison. Fucking criminal, right? Peace is for the good people, regardless of their religious backgrounds or any other affiliations they have. Not for criminals like you, PB. Fucking bird. Let's keep listening.
I want to assure you, no matter what pressure is brought to bear, I will never allow that to happen.
Nobody gives a fuck really, like about what you will do and what you want to do. And again, if you don't want to allow that. I mean, why did listen, baby? Why did you just forget about all that and just turn yourself over to the ICC, to the Interpol, and be arrested and apply for bail? And if you're not granted bail, that's fine. Uh, you can make your defense in the trial and leave all that to the other people. Like, there are other Jewish people who would be willing to, would be sincere in attempting to avoid the occurrence of uh, another October 7th. I don't want to see October 7th happening again. I don't want to see any bloodshed in Palestine. No, not anymore. Okay? I want to see peace. I want to see peace for everybody. I want to see peace, equality, love, happiness. Why don't you just fucking take yourself out of all that, Netanyahu? Just turn yourself over and let justice take its due course, and fight your case in the court. And if you were acquitted, I mean, good luck with that. But if you were acquitted, we will see what I mean, and nothing, you were not found guilty of anything, then that would be good for you. But if you were convicted, you will just be punished and that's it. But just quit it, Netanyahu. You're not a fucking speaker for like, you don't represent the Jewish people. Okay, so you're a criminal, and the fact that you're in power or you have some authority doesn't actually, you kind of get away with what you've been doing, you and the other criminals, only because you're holding political positions or so. You're criminals, and in the end of the day, you'll be held accountable for your crimes.
The vast majority of Americans have not fallen for this Hamas propaganda. They continue to support Israel. And I want to say thank you, America, and thank you, senators and House members, who continue to support this, continue to support Israel, continue to support the truth, and see through the lies. But that's for the minority.
Again, well, these are not lies. Again, these are allegations that were leveled and proven in the court, in the top world court. Um, the judges opined, and if you want to file an appeal, you should follow the due process. But you're not. Uh, you're lying to the world. You're spreading misinformation. You are uh, pouring your wrath on the judges and whoever is going after your crimes because you're a narcissist, right? And you're a psychopath. You're a dangerous offender, baby. You see, that's the problem. And all your supporters are criminals too. Um, this is a very deep this is a very deep issue that we're having here. These people like are freaking out of their minds, um, and they should be subject to mental mental health assessment. But these people are dangerous on the international peace, and this shouldn't be allowed to go on forever. Fuck, man.
That may fall for Hamas's construct. I suggest you listen to Colonel John Spencer. John Spencer is head.
Come on, it's not Hamas's con job. I mean, the South. Come on, man. Come on, man. I mean, there's so many people who are condemning Hamas, and like, well, they are still condemning you. The whole world actually is. Most of the world is. Come on, wake up. It's not Hamas's con. There are findings by the ICJ. Are you trying to tell me that the ICJ judges are Hamas? Come on. Seriously. Hamas con. Fuck, man.
The urban warfare studies at West Point. He studied every major urban conflict. I was going to say in modern history. He corrected me. No, in history. Israel, he said, has implemented more precautions to prevent civilian harm than any military in history and beyond what international law requires.
Okay, so now he will get to the misinformation that his state has been trying to disseminate internationally. We all hear that on the CNN, and how the ratio of the civilian casualties are very low compared to the militant casualties. And now he will try to lead the fallacies that he will try to convince the listeners that there were no civilian deaths, which is really absurd. Really, that's fucked up. No civilian casualties, and presumptively. Well, I can't understand why you're saying that, baby. Because you believe that they are all terrorists and all the Palestinians are Hamas. Because you're a genocidal piece of shit. That's what you are. For him, of course, everybody will be Hamas. All the Palestinians are Hamas. Of course, in the end of the day, it's up to him because he appointed himself as a judge. a de facto judge. So he decides who is a civilian, who is a Hamas or a militant. It's up to him. That's the classification. Whoever he says is Hamas, and whoever he decides is a civilian is a civilian. Up to him. Even if that was unsubstantiated, just like all the other allegations that he made.
That's why, despite all the lies you've heard, the war in Gaza has one of the lowest ratios of combatants to non-combatants casualties in the history of urban warfare.
That's fucked up.
And you want to know where it's lowest in Gaza? It's lowest in Rafah.
It's always
In Rafah.
oh.
Remember what your
Please
nation
leave
said?
me alone. Come on, man.
You'll go to
Fuck,
Rafah.
man. You fucking tone. Your voice tone is for you fucking liar. You're a fucking liar. What are you trying to convince these people of? Seriously, for fuck's sake. And all the allegations that were leveled against you and your government are fucking true. Some of them were proven, and the others are provable in a court of law. Fucking criminal. And they're still uploading it.
And even tens of thousands of civilians killed. Well, last week, I went into Rafah. I visited our troops as they finished fighting Hamas's remaining terrorist battalions. I asked the commander there, how many terrorists did you take out in Rafah? He gave me an exact number, 1,203. I asked him, how many civilians were killed? He said, Prime Minister, practically none. With the exception of a single incident, where shrapnel from a bomb hit a Hamas weapons depot and unintentionally killed 2 dozen people. The answer is practically none. You want to know why? Because Israel got the civilians out of harm's way. Something people said we could never do, but we did it.
Again, like he's taking a very partial stance here. Like he didn't mention anything about what happened in Nawasi and all the other parts of Gaza, and he just got to what happened in Rafah. I mean, regardless of the truthfulness of what he's saying or not, I mean, these are all allegations that have to be tested, and like if they were found to be untrue, I mean, but whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, he set the standard, which are all like unfair standard, and he made the decision and the judgment, and he's fucked up. This guy's a fucking psychopath. Fuck, man. Practically nobody. Israel is innocent.
They're heroic soldiers of Israel. Should not be condemned for how they're conducting the war in Gaza. They should be commended for it.
Oh my goodness. And the soldiers should be commended for all the chants that they were repeating because of you. Because of what Isaac Herzog said. These people are in a deep state of denial of the facts. These people's conscience is dead. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's so sad to see. So sad. And then he asks why people burn the US flag. It's because of this. It's because of this. Why is the US so much hated? Why did Aaron Bushnell burn himself? Why?
I want to thank all of you here today who forcefully opposed the false accusations of the ICC and stood up for the truth. These lies are not
False accusations of ICC again. The ICC hasn't made its case yet. The prosecution hasn't made its case yet. They are not false. They are true. There is evidence. They are supported by evidence.
only libels. They're done by dangerous. The ICC is trying to shackle Israel's hands and prevent us from defending ourselves. And if Israel's hands are tied, America is next.
Then he's saying that the ICC is trying to shackle their hands in defending themselves. You're committing genocide, baby. Your statements were clear, and the intent of your soldiers were reflected in their chants. The evidence was filed to the ICJ, and a plausible case of genocide was found. You're not. You're not. Everybody knows that you were not. Uh, you were not. What I mean, your war against Hamas, according to you, it's not a manhunt. You're not going after the Hamas members. Everybody saw that. You had a deep conviction that all the Palestinians are guilty and all the civilians are the Amalek that should be eradicated. Everybody has seen that. The world is trying to restrain you from engaging in further criminal conduct. And you know that. The case is proven. It's done, baby. That's so pathetic. Let's keep listening.
I'll tell you what else is next.
America is next again. Now he's saying America is next. Well, America will not be next if if I mean, you're trying to scare the American people, uh, but they should understand that the bad image that the U.S. has in the world today is because it's supporting your criminal conduct, baby. It's it's providing a haven for you to escape from justice. These corrupt politicians who are giving you the podium and listening to you and applauding you for what you're saying is what makes the people hate America so much. America never used to be hated that much in the world. And there are people in America who is trying to correct the wrong path. So many Americans are not happy with the criminal conduct of the American politicians who are complicit in your crimes, baby. And who gave you the chance to address your US Congress today and say the bullshit that you are rambling to the whole world.
The ability of all democracies to fight terrorism will be impaired. That's what's on the line. So let me assure you, the hands of
What's on the line is actually getting rid of the apartheid regime. Is what's on the line is peace and love between people from all backgrounds, all religions. No preference will be given to a certain person because of his religion. What's on the line is one state solution in which everybody um, has a guaranteed charter rights, um, in which everybody is equal. What's on the line is getting rid of your narcissism, your psychopathy, your bigotry, your criminality. What's on the line is actually holding you accountable for your crimes, you and all the corrupt politicians backing you all over the world and backing your criminal conduct, baby. That's what's on the line. And justice will be made. Let's keep listening.
the Jewish state will never be shackled. Israel will always defend itself.
Well, the Zionist state like defend itself from what? I mean, if Israel was renounced, if Israel was like just written off, just canceled, and reconciliation began, um, then uh, there will be no need for anybody to defend any themselves from any other person or any other group. Okay? So let's just get back to the history, baby, because you got an F in it. You need to acknowledge the facts and instead of denying them. Okay, because it's not good. It doesn't look good. Like it doesn't help your case because you know what you're not speaking to fools. You're not. I mean the history is documented and like there are testimonies. There is a lot of materials that people can review and to know the facts, right? So just abandon it, uh, Bibi. I mean, you're a fucking uh, criminal supremacist, okay? And you're a apartheid supporter. Like, come on, man, it's fucking disgusting. You're so barbaric. The world is fighting for civilization against your barbarism, Bibi. Fucking bird.
My friends in the Middle East, Iran is virtually beyond time. All the terrorism.
Okay, so now he's getting to he's addressing his friends in the Middle East, and it's unclear who are his friends in the Middle East. And then he's trying to stir the same misinformation that Iran is evil and trying to to disrupt the regional peace. Again, he in that he is denying the fact of the history, and again, and this has been going on for so long, trying to um, suggest that Iran is a radical. Um, Islam or the regime in Iran is radical Islam and all that. And he's supporting radical Islam. Well, how do you explain that Hezbollah was fighting with ISIS in Syria? How do you explain that Hezbollah and Iran has good relationships with Syria and with Russia in general? And now he will turn on Putin and on Russia and try to divide even more and make it worse. That's so sad. I mean, this guy's in a deep state of denial. Let's keep listening.
All the turmoil, all the chaos, all the killing. And that should come as no
As
surprise.
a matter of fact, it's Israel that was the reason for all the turmoil, and all the chaos, and all the disruption of peace in the region. If the state of Israel was renounced, and uh, the IOF, the Israeli occupation forces, uh, were dismantled, I see like the best chance for peace in the region. Uh, if you're trying to say that the Iranians have problems with the Jews and all that, how do you explain that there's so many thousands? I believe 8,000 Jews in Iran who are enjoying their religious freedoms and going to their synagogues without being harmed or hurt and in any manner or harassed or anything of this kind by the Iranian government. And how do you explain? I mean, how do you explain their rejection of moving to Israel despite the repeated calls of the Zionists or the Jews? What's it called? The Jewish Agency, yes, to uh, persuade them and lure them into coming to Israel and telling them that they will get all the privileges uh, and just to get out of Iran. But they are never following, and they're not leaving for Israel. So how do you explain that? This is just bullshit. I mean, why would the Iranian regime do that? I mean, you need to understand that you're occupying force, that your state is founded on ethnic cleansing and genocide, and that the Palestinian people are uh, entitled to resistance by rule of international law. They have the right to resist this occupation.
When he founded the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Khomeini pledged, "We will export our revolution to the entire world. We will export the Islamic revolution to the entire world." Now ask yourself,
I don't understand. What's your problem? I mean, the Islamic Revolution. So I mean, I'm against the regime in Iran because of the religious factor in it. Um, I mean, the leader, the top leader of the state is uh, a spiritual character, but I'm against the theocratic states in general. I don't understand what's your problem with him. He could say whatever he wanted to say. We will export our revolution to everywhere. So okay, whatever. Guevara wanted to export the revolution everywhere in the world too, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, in Latin America and Africa, he tried to. I don't see like what's the problem with that. Nasser tried to export the, his revolution to the other states, and I don't see what's wrong with that. I mean, to Iraq, for instance, to Yemen, to Algeria. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Why is this so disturbing to Bibi? Fucking bird.
which country ultimately stands in the way of Iran's maniacal plans to impose radical Islam on the world? And the answer is clear. It's America, the guardian of Western civilization and the world's greatest power.
Also, he's calling America the guardian of the civilization and the world's power. It's fucked up. This bullshit. This bullshit. Fuck man. It's radical Islam. So we called Iran radical Islam. I don't think that Iran myself. I don't think that the Iranian regime views of Islam as radical. To be honest, myself, I find it to be very moderate. In fact, um, I mean there are some bigots like in every religious group, but generally, I find it to be very moderate, very welcoming and accepting. I don't see like radical Islam. I mean, maybe if you mentioned ISIS, I would say yes, I would agree to that. But actually, ISIS is not different from Mr. Netanyahu from Israel because they think they are the chosen and that they are entitled. They are the people of God and they are entitled to the whole land and all that. Whoever opposes them is evil. Same concept that Mr. Netanyahu has in his mind, um, which is like they're psychopaths. They are just just mentally disturbed criminals, offenders. And again, I'm not defending like any injustice that the Iranian regime or any other regime actually inflicted on its citizens or on anybody else. Uh, but at the same time, uh, I disagree with Bibi's hypothesis and how he's trying to uh, stir turmoil and chaos in the name of defending democracy and liberty and civilization, which is bullshit. Which is bullshit. Let's keep listening.
That's why Iran sees America as its greatest enemy. Last month,
Well, Iran sees America as its greatest enemy. I mean, the Iranian regime. That's because of it's not only Iran. I mean, it has to do with actually what the CIA has been doing. Uh, I mean, in the 70s and the 80s and during the Cold War, war. There are so many historical factors that should be taken into consideration, um, and of course, the the American meddling in the Middle Eastern affairs, and actually even the Russian officials attested to that, and so many other people actually around the world agree that all the instability in the Middle East is the result of the manner in which uh, the U.S. and the CIA actually interfered in this region for decades, for only for its uh, to preserve its colonialist interests. Like it's pretty clear. I mean, and it's because of the U.S. It's not because of Iran or the regime in Iran. The regime in Iran has good relations with like so many countries all over the world. So and I understand like the animus that you have against them because of their support for Hezbollah and the Houthis and for Hamas and so, but it's because like the U.S. started all that. It's the colonialism, and that's what the history tells us. And we all know that Israel is just a puppet. It's and Biden said it. I mean, he said that Israel is the best investment that they made in the Middle East, and if Israel wasn't there, they would have created it to preserve their interests. And look, we would have created it. How do you create a state on a land that's not theirs? And that's actually an acknowledgement of Biden, of his support for settler colonialism. So, I mean, Biden made his case. It's clear. It's clear. I mean, he is supportive of settler colonialism. The evidence is there. It's it's just how like that's how America, the United States of America, was created today. And we'll take a listen to something that he mentioned about the United States of America. Let's keep listening.
And as we defend ourselves on all fronts, I know all our enemies should know this. My friends, if you remember one thing from the speech, remember this. Our enemies are your enemies. Our fight is your fight, and our victory will be your victory.
You see, and this is a very dangerous statement that he is making here, because our enemy is your enemy, our victory is your victory, our fight is your fight. Uh, we were founded on genocide and ethnic cleansing, and you were the same. And we have to keep doing that because we are a bunch of psychopaths, we are a bunch of criminals, and let's keep going. That's the problem. Then he comes and say, why do people hate the state of Israel and hate the United States so much? It's because of your psychological disturbance. It's because of your criminality. Period. Period. Just give it up and see how the world will look at you. Not difficult.
Ladies and gentlemen, that victory is in sight. Israel's defeat of Hamas will be a powerful blow to Iran's axis of terror. Another part of that axis, Hezbollah, attacked Israel on October 8th.
So he's saying that if that Hamas must come to an end and Israel must like achieve victory and all this shit. My question to Bibi, come on, Bibi, resistance is an idea, is a thought. Say, I'll tell you something. The PLO, Fatah, in the past, it was an armed group, right? And they were attacking Israel, and now they decided not to use arms again, and to go to what they called peace, and which is submission. I mean, submission to you as a narcissist, psychopath. Uh, but in the end of the day, they decided not to attack Israel again. So that's when Hamas became stronger, right? That's when the idea of armed resistance continued through another political movement. Come on, let me ask you this, baby. Let's say that, okay, so you managed to assassinate Yahya Sinwar, you managed to assassinate all the leaders of Hamas and all that. You will never assassinate the idea of resistance, of armed resistance. Other groups will erupt and they will fight you. Just like what happened in Algeria. I mean, you cannot suppress it forever, baby. So if you're saying Hamas is the problem of today, tomorrow you will get 1,000 of Hamas, even if you weakened it or like did whatever you thought is your victory. Because you see, because the facts didn't change. The fact that your state is illegit, the fact that you are apartheid, a criminal state, a state that's founded on genocide, ethnic cleansing, these facts were not changed. And the wrong was not corrected. So these people will keep fighting for justice until the wrong is corrected. And then we take it from there. The problem is not in Hamas. And it's very difficult for him to understand and to get that because, like, he's very close minded. Uh, but, we'll see. Let's just keep listening.
The day after the Hamas attack, it has launched thousands of missiles and drones against us. 80,000 of our citizens in northern Israel evacuated their homes, becoming effectively refugees in their own land.
And speaking of this, he's speaking about what happened in northern Israel and the attacks of Hezbollah. Let's say you finished Hamas in the south. What about Hezbollah? You will never finish them. What about later, like the Syrians and the Iraqis or the other powers when they become armed because they don't recognize your control on the Golan Heights and it's on occupied land? When they fight for it, what will you do? When Hezbollah fights you for it, what will you do? When you get more militants from Iraq, what will you do? If Hamas is the problem, you have to understand that you are an illegit state. You're not legit. So, like, it's like what you're doing is freaking nuts, man. Seriously, go get some freaking mental health fucking treatment.
We're committed to returning them home. We prefer to achieve this diplomatically. But let me be clear. Israel will do whatever it must do to restore security to our northern border and return our people safely to their homes.
Oh, what are you gonna do? You're gonna attack? You're gonna attack Lebanon again? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna invade Lebanon? And then, after invading Lebanon, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with Iraq? What else with Syria? And then Iran? And what if your friends in the Middle East? What if there was a coup in Saudi Arabia and it was declared a republic, anti-Zionist republic? What about the other monarchies in the UAE and so? What if? What if? What if you were attacked by Egypt or by Libya or Algeria? What if? What if you were attacked by other forces? Because you're now campaigning, and he'll get to speaking about Russia and and the other powers, and what if these powers actually aligned against you and against the campaign that you're trying to build, the campaign of the good against the evil? And if Russia has like good relations with Iran, does it mean that Russia is in the axis of evil? Same applies to China. What if?
Last Friday, a third Iranian craft crossing the Houthis attacked Tel Aviv with a deadly drone. It exploded a few hundred feet from the American consulate, killing one person and injuring 9. On Saturday, I authorized a swift response to that attack. All our enemies should know this. Those who attack Israel will pay a very heavy price. And as we defend ourselves,
You're threatening, like, okay, we also gonna have it. It's a war.
and as we defend ourselves on all fronts, I know that America has our back. And I thank you for it. All sides of the aisle. Thank you.
Well, you should doubt that, baby, because there are so many people who didn't attend. There are so many protests in the United States. Uh, American judges are taking unfavorable positions from you and your state and things like that. So I understand that you're relying on the support from both both parties. You're very happy with the support that you get from the Democrats and the Republicans, but for not for so long, Bibi. I mean, Kamala doesn't like you. Come on. And so many other senators too.
My friends, for decades, America has provided Israel with generous military assistance. And a grateful Israel has provided America with critical intelligence that saved many lives. We jointly developed some of the most sophisticated weapons on Earth. I choose my words carefully. We jointly developed some of the most sophisticated weapons on Earth that help protect both our countries. And we also help keep American boots. We help keep Americans' boots off the ground while protecting our shared interests in the Middle East.
See, their shared interests in the Middle East. Why don't you just fucking get out of the Middle East? You don't belong to this land. That's not your land. You're a criminal, an outsider criminal, descendant of criminals. What does America want from the Middle East? They don't have the right to interfere in the Middle East. In the Arab world, they call it the United Arab Republic, if you know what I'm talking about. They are colonist powers, criminals.
I deeply appreciate America's support, including in this third war. But this is an exceptional moment. Fast-tracking U.S. military aid can dramatically expedite an end to the war in Gaza and help prevent a broader war in the Middle East. In World War II, as Britain fought on the front lines of civilization, Winston Churchill appealed to Americans with these famous words: "Give us the tools, and we'll finish the job." Today, as Israel fights on the front line of civilization, I too appeal to America. Give us the tools faster, and we'll finish the job faster.
Oh, this is so sad. It's so sad. Seriously. Seriously. So he's recalling like Winston Churchill's speech to the U.S. Congress. I mean, you can't just compare your request to Winston Churchill's request. Come on, man. I mean, Churchill is English. He belongs to the land. He belongs to England. He's an English citizen. You are a colonist. You don't belong to this land. I mean, the UK's position in World War II is completely different from yours. The UK was more tolerant with um, the Jews, were more respectful. It was not genocidal. Didn't engage in ethnic cleansing like you're doing. And they certainly didn't occupy any other lands after Hitler was done and Nazism was done. Unlike you, baby. Fucking criminal. What job are you talking about? What civilization are you talking about?
My dear friends, the war in Gaza could end tomorrow if Hamas surrenders, disarms, and returns all the hostages.
That's what he wants. He wants Hamas to surrender and to disarm itself and release all the hostages. He wants to guarantee the security of the state of Israel, the colonist state of Israel. But again, even if Hamas did that, how do you guarantee that there will be no more armed resistance against your state, so long as you're occupying a land that's not yours? Even if it's stopped temporarily, how do you guarantee that in the future, even if you could put it off for for a year, 5, 10, 15, 20, how do you guarantee that this idea of armed resistance will not be revived in the future? How do you? What a fool.
And if they don't, Israel will fight until we destroy Hamas's military capabilities, end its rule in Gaza, and bring all our hostages home.
You have pretty much done that. You occupied all of Gaza, but like you still haven't released all the hostages after how long now? What, 9 months, man? Come on. Over 9 months, 10 months almost.
That's what total victory means, and we will settle for nothing less. The day, the day after we defeat Hamas, a new Gaza can emerge. My vision for that day is of a demilitarized and de-radicalized Gaza. Israel does not seek to resettle Gaza, but for the foreseeable future, we must retain overriding security control there to prevent the resurgence of terror, to ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
Well, I'm afraid this will never be insured, baby. This will never be insured, no matter what happens. This is not the first time you occupy Gaza. It will never be demilitarized, and you know why. I can't tell you why. Because the arms will always keep flowing, will keep coming to Gaza. And they will keep fighting until the end. Even if Hamas surrender.
Gaza should have a civilian administration run by Palestinians who do not seek to destroy Israel. That's not too much to ask.
Well, that's too much to ask, actually, because Palestinians are entitled to their land. They are entitled to all the settlement that the criminal state has been supporting. They are entitled to their legal rights, and this is too much to ask. They are entitled to their land from the river to the sea, because Palestine shall be free. And that's too much to ask, baby. If you want to be realistic, why don't you freaking turn yourself over to the Interpol and freaking renounce the state of Israel? You see, then we will take it from there, baby.
It's a fundamental thing that we have a right to demand and to receive.
Why are you so angry? Fuck me.
A new generation of Palestinians must no longer be taught to hate Jews, but rather to live in peace with us.
Oh, come on, come on. You don't tell us about hatred, baby. Who started the hatred? Who started the hatred? We have to ask a fundamental question. If there really is hate from the Palestinian new generations for the Jews, who is responsible for that? And I can tell you, baby, because I know a lot of Palestinian people, and I know a lot of people from the new generations who don't hate Jews, who are very clear in their positions, and who understand that the problem is with Zionism and the state of Israel and not with Jews. And they don't hate Jews. And let me tell you that I spoke with many people who were ignorant and who didn't know the difference between Zionism and Judaism. And when I explained the difference and what their stance should be, they understood the difference and understood what they are fighting for. So don't try to tell us that, oh, the Palestinians hate Jews because they were raised to hate Jews. Well, who's responsible for that? I mean, you're speaking on behalf. You say you're speaking on behalf of all the Jewish people in the world. You confiscated these people's land. You deported them from their lands. You killed them. You occupied their lands. You're an outsider. You don't belong there. They didn't fight you in the beginning. They didn't kill you in the beginning. They welcomed you. And then now you're wondering why they hate Jews. Ask your fucking self.
Those three words, demilitarization and de-radicalization, those two concepts were applied to Germany and Japan after World War II, and that led to decades of peace, prosperity, and security. Following our victory,
Oh, Japan, and Germany were occupying forces, were settler and colonialist forces at the time. They attacked the U.S. for no reason. I mean, Japan, uh, Germany, the Nazis, they attacked Europe, the rest of Europe, only for expansion. And, you know, they were settler powers. But you cannot compare yourself to Japan and to the Nazis because you're actually doing the same thing they were doing. You're a settler power, you're a colonialist power. You should admit it and stop denying it because all the facts support that. And it doesn't make any difference if you say that uh, these facts are not true because the facts are the facts. They took place and they were proven. You have the right to deny that they took place, and it's up to you if you have like any mental disorder, so or if you're ignorant, or if you're living in delusion or denial. It's up to you. But that doesn't mean that these occurrences didn't take place because they did.
with the help of regional partners, the demilitarization and de-radicalization of Gaza can also lead to a future of security, prosperity, and peace. That's my vision for Gaza.
Well, and my vision of Gaza and of the whole region is that you and your criminal gang renounces the state of Israel, dismantle your freaking army, and my vision for this part of the world is that Palestine will be free, one state from the river to the sea, and to join an Arab confederation in which the people will have the right to govern themselves and just to get rid of all the any privilege that could be given to a certain citizen because of any consideration or any affiliations that this person has, including the model of the state of Israel, which should be abandoned, like as a theocratic and criminal state, which presents itself to the world as a representative and a homeland for the Jewish people, which is bullshit. Fuck, man.
Now, here's my vision for the broader Middle East. It's also shaped.
Oh, now he's telling us about his vision for the broader Middle East. A criminal, a convicted criminal. Well, he's not convicted yet, but there is strong evidence against him. He's telling us about his vision for the Middle East. You don't belong to this area of the world, baby. Where did your parents come from? You're a bad immigrant. You're a criminal. You should admit that and get rehabilitated. You don't tell us about your vision for the Middle East. You don't decide on behalf of the people of the Middle East. We decide for ourselves. Who are you to tell us your vision. You're an outsider. You're an invader, a criminal.
in part by what we saw in the aftermath of World War II. After that war, America forged a security alliance in Europe to counter the growing Soviet threat. Likewise, America and Israel today can forge a security alliance in the Middle East to counter the growing Iranian threat. All
So he's talking about the Soviets threat, and this is very serious actually. The alliance. Who are you to decide what the people in the Middle East do for their future? Who are you? Who are you? What alliance are you talking about? I mean, the Iranians, they are native to their lands, and they have the right to decide what regime to accept or to adopt for themselves. You don't have even the right to decide for them how their country should be like. You are a colonist settler, Bibi. You've got to admit that. What you're doing is very audacious, very disrespectful. But you know what? This consistent with your narcissistic personality disorder, because you believe that you're higher than the other people. You have the right to decide whatever you want for them because you're a supremacist and you have no respect for the people's rights. And then you come and tell us about the democracy and the people's rights. Fucking criminal. We know what you are, an authoritarian criminal. And I think the world now sees you for who you are, baby. And don't be fooled by all the encouragement and all the cheering that you're receiving in the US Congress. Because that's not how the world is seeing you. No. You gotta wake up to the facts. I mean, the truth can be hard, but you gotta accept it, baby. Because the facts are the facts. They will never be changed.
countries that are at peace with Israel and all those countries who will make peace with Israel should be invited to join this alliance. We saw a glimpse. We saw a glimpse of that potential.
You know what, baby? You see, the people of these countries, whose leaders allege to be in peace with Israel, the people in these countries see these leaders as traitors. See, and they know that they will fight this state of Israel, and that the views of their leaders don't represent the people of these countries. You see, I understand that Israel has a lot of agents and a lot of spies, and uh, you know, and that you're good in this game, and but in the end of the day, the people know that Israel will come to an end at the end of the day. Um, because there is no place for colonists and settlers in the Arab land. There is no place for bullies. Criminals will no longer decide for the Arab people the shape of their countries. They don't preach to us their vision of the future. We're not their followers because we are sovereign on our lands. And by Arab people, I mean all the Arab people, from Morocco in the west to Iraq in the east. I mean, you're doing a good job trying to get some friends and to achieve certain goals that you are pursuing in the region. But I'm afraid it will be very difficult. It has nothing to do with the hate of Jews, baby. It's uh, it's about the armed occupation of land that's not yours. It's about a fight for justice and freedom, for the real freedom, baby. Not the brand of freedom that you, the US, are propagating to the world. Let's keep listening.
Alliance on April 14th, led by the United States, more than half a dozen nations worked alongside Israel to help neutralize hundreds of missiles and drones launched by Iran against us. Thank you, President Biden, for bringing that coalition together. The new alliance I envision would be a natural extension of the groundbreaking Abraham Accords. Those accords saw peace forged between Israel and four Arab countries, and they were supported by Republicans and Democrats alike. We could call. I have a name for this new alliance. I think we should call it the Abraham Alliance.
Well, for the Abraham Accords, well, the views of the Arab people, and I can tell you this because I speak with Arab people, citizens actually from Emirates and Bahrain and what are the other countries that signed recently with Israel, the Abraham Accords? They're all against you. The fact that their leaders uh, like decided to sort of normalize relationships with you doesn't mean that the people accept that. The people are against it. And Egypt is the best example. I mean, you had an accord with Egypt in 1979, and until today, all the Egyptians are against you and are against their leadership because they actually recognize you as a state. Come on, wake up to the facts. Wake up to the facts, baby. Right? So they're not really your friends, and we know that the people in these countries are not free because we know how these countries are ruled. We know that Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum is a misogynist, and this guy hates women. I believe that you hate women too, baby. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be. It's possible, but Mohammed bin Rashid was like beating his daughters, and well, why did Princess Haya dump him? I mean, there are a lot of things that have been going on, and you know what? The King of Bahrain is not better. We all know that these are regressive regimes, and they're they're just as bad as Israel. These are all authoritarian regimes, um, and the people don't have real rights in these countries, just like in Israel. You see, so let's. So don't rely too much on that, okay? On your Abraham Accords and all this bullshit because they're very temporary. It's a fantasy. Like all this will come to an end, baby. Like it will take time, but in the end of the day, this historical injustice will be corrected. You see, by we hope by peace, uh, when you renounce your colonist state, but if the other solution was the armed resistance, then be it. And you will never be able to demilitarize us for forever. I mean, look, you're talking shit about the Soviet Union and how you worked with the US to counter the Soviet Union, all this bullshit. And Putin is not happy with that. Look, the Russians have a lot of weapons. And the Iranians now are for my question, you probably know. You're saying that you have been providing the U.S. with intelligence, and all. It's a known fact that Russia backed Iran in their nuclear program. So now you're trying to say, oh, let's face the Iranian threat, and when the Russians hear what you're saying, they won't be happy. Especially Putin is a big story. He's a former KGB officer, man. You're talking shit about the Soviet Union. and putting his position from the Soviet Union, and how the Soviet Union came to an end is not a position that you will like. When you say that you campaigned with the U.S. to counter the Soviet Union, it's not good for you, man. And on top of that, like, I don't know, I don't think it was you who said that the United States was the first country to recognize the state of Israel. It was actually the Soviet Union, man. You're a fucking fool. You're a fucking fool. This guy wants the whole world to fight a World War III to break out for him, for his freaking religious bigotry. This fucked up. This fucked up. Seriously. Come on. Let's keep listening. Oh, 3 hours and a half. Oh, come on. That's a lot.
I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in brokering the start to Abraham Accords.
Oh, speaking of this, President Trump and now the Republicans applauding it. I'm not sure like if the Democrat senators did that too. I mean they possibly did. Some of them must have done that. They still applauded him for this. Uh, but in any case, I heard what Kamala Harris and I heard and liked what Kamala said about the type of persons Trump is. So um, I hope we will see some change in the U.S. politics soon. Um, so now he's mentioning Trump. Of course, Trump is their favorite candidate for the time being. But let's take a listen to the. I think we have 7 minutes remaining here.
Like Americans, Israelis were relieved that President Trump emerged safe and sound from that dastardly attack on him, dastardly attack on American democracy. There is no room for political violence in democracies.
Really, there is no room for political violence in democracies. Well, can you remind us of the political violence that was going on in Palestine against the uh, like United Kingdom lords and judges and whoever opposed the Zionist uh, gangs in Palestine? Can you uh, tell me more about that? And like all the political violence in Palestine because of for the declaration of the state of Israel, for the Zionist dream. You can't talk about the political violence, baby. If your country was founded on political violence, you can't really speak to that. Seriously, come on, man. This guy is fucking nuts.
I also want to thank President Trump for all the things he did for Israel, from recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, to confronting Iran's aggression, to recognizing Jerusalem as our capital and moving the American embassy there.
Well, you can actually thank him as much as you can, but in the end of the day, the Golan Heights will be liberated, just like Palestine, and just like all the other occupied Arab territories. They'll be liberated either by peace or by the force of arms, which is like that's why we will keep like militarizing and we'll keep resisting you, and that's why all the Arab states and all the Arab people will back any resistance against you. You see, but you just cannot see it. You're just trying to pursue certain goals, and in the end of the day, like all the traitors who are uh, submitting to you, they will be taken off, and the people will take over, and there will be an end to this colonization of Palestine. Period. I mean, you can do whatever you want and take as long as you want and try as hard as you can to avoid it, but it's coming and you know it's coming. Come on.
That's Jerusalem, our eternal capital never to be divided again.
Okay, so now he is actually going against the previous UN resolutions and rulings, and we all know that Eastern Jerusalem should be a part of the partition, like according to the UN partition, should be a part of the Palestinian state. But he, of course, doesn't recognize that, and he believes that it will not be divided, and it's the capital of the state of Israel. That's how bigot he is, and uh, that's how much he is hateful of the whole international community and unhappy with any like any he basically he doesn't recognize any sovereignty for the Arabs in this land because he believes that it's the land of Israel, it's the homeland of his ancestors and all this bullshit, and he's using the arms uh, and is being supported by uh, top U.S. politicians to carry on his Zionist criminal state, the conduct of his Zionist criminal state. So there's no wonder. I mean, and Trump by doing that. I mean, he is unequivocal in admitting that he's a Zionist and his support for colonialism. And Joe Biden said the same. I mean, they both are like it's the same shit. It's the same shit. Colonists. And then you ask me why the people hate America that much. Well, I think you now have the answer.
My dear friends, Democrats and Republicans, despite these times of the people, I'm hopeful about the future. I'm hopeful about Israel because my people, the Jewish people, emerged from the depths of hell of dispossession and genocide. And against all odds, we restored our sovereignty in our ancient homeland. We built a powerful and vibrant democracy, a democracy that pushes the boundaries of innovation for the betterment of all humanity. I'm hopeful about America because I'm hopeful about Americans. I know how much the people of this country have sacrificed to defend freedom. America.
Oh. So now he is. You see, he's talking nicely about his country and about America, both of which were founded on genocide and ethnic cleansing. And he is indicating how they both were fighting for freedom. But what freedom, man? What freedom are you talking about? What freedom? Freedom of who? And you're saying it's your ancestral homeland, and they emerged from the whatever, the depth of the darkness and all this shit. What emerged from the depth of the darkness? What do you mean? Like the migrants, the Jewish immigrants to Palestine, when they carried the weapons and started killing that and deporting and forcing the native uh, citizens of Palestine, forcing them out of their land. What freedom are you talking about? And how is this uh, uh, coming back from the depth of darkness or standing up? And you know what the fuck are you talking about? You're talking about a bunch of terrorists who massacred the Palestinians and declared their state. What freedom are you talking about? And I responded earlier to his allegations about Abraham and his right to the land and all this bullshit. But what freedom is he talking about when it comes to America too?
Will be continued to be a force for light and good in a dark and dangerous world. For free peoples everywhere, America remains a beacon of.
Well, it's a dark and dangerous world because of people like you and the psychopath and the criminals who are running America today.
Liberty, its extraordinary founders envisioned back in 1776.
Oh, now he's talking about uh, the foundation of America and liberty and freedom in 1776. Well, probably he's so stupid because slavery wasn't abolished in America, straight up. It wasn't abolished until 1865. by the 13th Amendment. What freedom are you talking about? Are you saying that the genocidal uh, 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 United States of America was founded on freedom? It was founded on ethnic cleansing and slavery. Okay, it took them long time, man, to abolish slavery. The history of slavery in the United States is brutal, man. Fuck, man. And he's committing. He's this guy is a fucking hypocrite. Oh, they're still fucking uploading. Come on, that's incredible. Fuck.
Working together, I'm confident that our two nations will vanquish the tyrants and terrorists who threaten us both. As Israel's Prime Minister,
Well, the tyrants and the terrorists are you and those who are applauding for you, Netanyahu. The whole world, actually, I believe, like most of the world will agree with me on that. Trust me.
I promise you this: no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult the road ahead, Israel will not relent. Israel will not bend. We will defend our land. We will defend our people. We will fight until we achieve victory. Victory over liberty, rather victory of liberty over tyranny, victory of life over death, victory of good.
Well, slow down, man. I mean, come on, come on. Liberty of what? And victory of liberty over, man, tyranny. You are the tyranny. What liberty? What liberty? What liberty are you fighting for? You're fighting for genocide. You're fighting for religious bigotry. That's what you're fighting for. You're fighting for delusions of supremacy of the chosen people. You're fighting for delusions of a land that you allege to be yours. That's what you're fighting for. You're not fighting for freedom. Everybody knows that. You're a liar.
Over evil. That's our solid commitment.
Well, you are the evil, actually. And all those who are applauding for you are evil too, I would say. Or ignorance
And we will continue
at
to
the
work with
best.
the United States and our Arab partners to transform a troubled region from a backwater of repression, poverty, and war into a thriving oasis of dignity.
Well, I mean, this region will never thrive before it sees peace, a just and long-lasting peace, after getting rid of your Zionist and criminal state, baby, and getting like putting you to account for all your crimes against humanity. You and all your likes, baby. That's how the region will come to peace.
Clarity and peace. In this noble mission, as in many others, Israel will.
Seriously, noble mission. A criminal is speaking about a noble mission. What a joke. Come on. This guy's so entertaining.
Always remain America's indispensable ally. Through thick and thin,
It will be America's biggest military base in the Middle East. Indispensable ally. An outsider. A bunch of thugs. A bunch of criminals. Isn't this how America was founded too? I mean, no wonder you guys are allies. Because birds of the same feather fly together.
Israel will always be your loyal friend and your steadfast partner. On behalf of the people of Israel, I came here today to say thank you, America. Thank you for your support and solidarity. Thank you for standing in Israel, with Israel, in our hour of need. Together we shall defend our common civilization. Together, we shall secure a brilliant future for both our nations.
Together you shall defend your criminality. Together you will keep on denying your criminal conduct. Together you will keep on appointing yourself as judges over uh, uh, all the other nations in the world. Together you will maintain your supremacy and narcissistic personality disorders. Together you will be criminal and supremacists forever because that's who you are. And I'm not talking about the American people, the average American people. I'm talking about you and the criminal politicians, the criminal US politicians who are backing you, baby. And you will be arrested and tried for your crimes. There's no impunity for you.
May God bless Israel, may God bless America, and may God bless the great alliance between Israel and America forever.
There we go. There we go. You see, and that's where all the bad things come. Like that's where all the bad things come to an end. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. Come on. And then okay, it's crystal clear here. I mean, everybody knows why America is so hated in the Arab world. I mean, it's because of this. It's because of this scene. Let's go. And that's why America is being accused of being an imperialist and colonist power and all that. So let's go. Oh my goodness, that's the end of it. Okay. 3 hours, 45 minutes. I'm off, man. Thank you for listening. I mean, if you made it that far, thank you for listening. Thank you so much. Have a great night or day.